We ready to do it? Maybe hopefully somebody show up tonight. All right, guys, welcome to the show here at Fish North Georgia this Thursday night. Those of you that are already here, want to say hello, and those of you that will be watching this later on YouTube, again, we'll go ahead and say hello to you as well down the line. Again, we appreciate you spending a little time with us, and we got a great show for you tonight, something that I've been looking forward to, and we've actually been trying to get this together for a while now. Yeah. For a while, definitely. So let me take care of business real quick. This episode is brought to you by State Farm and the Cassidy Agency. Chase Epley, he's our guy. Now, listen, you hear me say it every single week, that personal article policy. You definitely need to check in on that. You need to give Chase a call at 678-779-7269. I'm just telling you guys, if you think about it, the warranty on your rods, if you compare it to this policy, you're going to be much better off. I promise you that. So give Chase a call, 678-779-7269, and protect your electronics and all your equipment on your boat as well, like that. And this episode is also brought to you by Nofo Brewery, just north of Cumming on Highway 400. Guys, if you go up there, if you like craft beer, you like a good time, good atmosphere, good music, they've got it all. So definitely check them out. Tell them the guys at Fish North Georgia sent you, and I think you will definitely enjoy it. You go up there?
No.
Why not?
I don't venture that far.
You don't venture that far? Is that out of your territory?
Out of my territory.
What's up, Kevin Bolton? I haven't seen that name in a while. Glad you're here. And again, everybody will be joining us here shortly. If you're watching on Facebook, again, go to StreamYard.com /. Did I say that right? Let me read it so I can read it the right way. Yeah, I tear this up. www.StreamYard.com /Facebook. All right. Put your name in there. So as you come on here, as the show progresses, we will definitely be able to see your name. All right. Unless you just don't want us to know it, and that's fine as well. So interesting show tonight. So I've got Mr. Ryan Hanks right here from Cast Fishing.
That's right.
And but you have a local. You've been around here for a while, so you have a local.
Even though I live in Florida, I'm a Georgia boy.
Right there now, and I'm gonna say this right, Franco Curotto.
Yes,
that's right.
Did I get it? Did I nail it on the first? All right, well, good. So, and of course, Ryan, the man Sheffield, is here. How are you, sir?
I'm wonderful.
Are you wonderful?
I'm wonderful.
Are you
I'm
excited?
happy to be here.
I know you're happy to be here. So,
you guys have no idea what we've already been talking about.
That's right. Well, exciting. We've been talking about a lot of stuff. But I want to do something real quick first too. This is from last week. All right. So I promised the gentleman that I would do this. He didn't say I had to, but I'm going to. So last week in the comments towards the end, it kind of got a little chippy around here. And so I kind of set some things straight. We want the comment section to be fun. We want guys to participate. And again, if you don't agree with something, that's fine. Please phrase it in a way that, is respectful and all that. But I made a mistake. And so I want to be man enough to say I'm sorry. One of the comments kind of got lumped in with everybody, and I was pretty hard on that guy. And he's a buddy of mine. And after we sat down and had some spirited discussion the following Friday, and reviewing all of it, I told him, you know what, I love him, and I told him I was sorry. And again, to show that I wanted to do it on here too. So last week I was pretty hard on Tim Wyatt. So again, Tim, if you're watching tonight, I apologize. And sometimes the comments get lumped in and they can be took out of context. So I made that mistake. And so I definitely want to be man enough to say I did it. For the rest of you, I did not. So the rest of you were in trouble. So you got what, but for Tim, I really did. I jumped his butt a little bit, and I was on the wrong. So I would definitely want to get that out of the way. So is that all right with you?
Tim, we love you.
I love Tim Wyatt, and I hope he shows up tonight and watches, even though he said he would. We're good. We fished against each other on Saturday. But sometimes you hurt your friends' feelings a little bit, and you got to say you're sorry. So you ever had your feelings hurt?
It's called life.
Huh?
Yeah.
Good deal.
Well, that's what you do. Well, you got to do that. So anyway, David Newcomb, all you guys, hey, let's get right into it. So we're going to talk. I don't even know how we want to describe this. So, hey, can you hear them good? You good, Paul, with the mics? You want them to come a little closer?
Yeah, no, they're going to have to get in there.
Okay.
All right, get in there with these mics. You got to have a relationship with your mic, guys.
Okay.
It's like that. Real quick, Ron, listen, I'm no more man because I said I'm sorry. It's just I was wrong. So, Tim Wyatt, sorry. So, but I appreciate the comment. So, anyway,
I got a good way to start it.
You got a good way to start?
Just to get everybody's wheels turning. there's no such thing as too big of a bait.
That's right.
There's no such thing as too big of a
all
bait.
you guys in the comments, let that start churning your wheels, and let's start thinking about it, because these guys are here. Ryan's here. Listen, this is going to be awesome, and they're going to be here. Franco and Ryan are going to be answering your questions. So come with the questions. Don't be scared.
Listen at you. There you go.
Because there's no such thing as too big of a bait.
It's too big of a
right.
bait. All right,
That's
so
right.
there you go. So that's kind of, and I'm looking at some big ones here. So let's kind of set the table.
Get that out of the way.
Let's set the table. I put this out for guys that fish the spotted bass lakes, because
Right.
we've been watching you on the page and stuff, and you make these trips back because you're originally from Georgia. You
That's
worked for a
correct.
lot of the
Yeah,
places and
yeah.
stuff like that, and but you're down in Florida. You're saltwater fishing a lot,
Right.
but you're bringing some of your stuff up here,
Right.
some techniques like that. So
Definitely.
let's just start off. I'll let you basically explain who you're with, what you're doing,
Okay.
and we'll just go from there. How about
Okay.
that?
Well, I think the way we got to start off really is back when I lived here in Georgia, and me and Franco fished together.
Yeah.
A little bit closer.
How many years ago was that we started throwing glide
10
baits
years
and
ago.
swim baits?
Okay. There you go.
We saw this guy out in California named Randall Doyle who would throw these gigantic baits for spotted bass.
Right.
And we were just ate up with that. So he'd always be like, "Did you see this fish? Did you see this?" And we were going to figure out how to do that. And I think the first time we went and threw glide baits or big swim baits, it was a GAN craft. I ordered it off Tackle Warehouse. It was like $115, right?
Yep.
And that was a big deal.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
And I didn't have a swim bait rod. I used a St. Croix musky rod and an old school Abu Garcia ambassador reel. And I remember our first trip up to Burton, and we had no clue what we were doing with this big, every time you throw it, a bomb's going off, right?
Right.
And I remember the guy, Randall, talking about followers. You might have a follower behind it, right? So we were drifting across this flat. He's retying something in the bottom of the boat, and I'm working this bait across this flat, and I just see this big black blob go boom behind it
Right.
and follow it right to the boat. At the last second, nail it. And that ruined me. Now, the next 3 trips I went fishing, I didn't get a bite. I didn't get a bite. But doing that style of fishing just I think it taught both of us a lot about the mentality of these really big fish. And I think, they're not the ones that want to eat potato chips every day.
Right.
They're the ones that want their steak and potatoes one time a day.
Mhm,
And so
yep.
Burton sets up like that. It's got the trout for it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So then you couldn't get a bait big enough. I felt like at that point, what might be absurd to other people, the bigger the better for us. It seemed to have more drawing power.
Right.
And as I was saying before we came on air here, you could go into a pocket, right? I don't care whether you throw a shaky head, a jig, a buzz bait, anything. Like say there's some docks there. You go out of there, you don't get any bites. You're like, well, maybe nothing's there. You go back in that pocket and throw a big glide bait. I'm not saying you're going to catch them, but those big fish will show themselves. They are curious.
They're going to come look. They're going to say, all right, yeah,
a
absolutely.
meal thing, or I think it's territorial, right? So even now you'll see some of the pros, they'll use that glide bait as a searching tool on their practice days to go to areas where they might throw that, and then during the tournament come back and catch them on a jig or a worm or something like that. Right.
And we really started experimenting on Lanier with like triple trouts.
Yeah.
We started throwing those, and then throwing some of the traditional baits too, like a Farley.
To be old Farley.
And we eventually got into the sweet baits that's now real popular.
Right.
But the thing is that you will typically draw some fish with these bigger style baits that you typically wouldn't get otherwise. And we're going to tell you some stories from last year,
Right.
that will just blow your mind.
Yeah, it's kind of like what Tim said. Big baits will make big bass act really aggressive, and what you would think is totally out of character.
That's correct.
So
That's
they're
correct.
inquisitive and territorial and
Yeah.
everything. So that's using it as a search bait just
Right.
to see what's there. That's
Right,
pretty interesting
right.
as well,
Yeah.
like that. So, but this is all you're developing in this on Burton.
Correct.
This
Yeah,
is-
that
this is
was
where
the lake that set
We
up really well.
we started at Burton. We took it back
Blue
to Lanier. We
Ridge.
went to Blue Ridge with it.
Had success at a
Vintage
lot of
2
mountain
with
lakes. Yeah.
Right.
It just started, like, the thing that's about me and him, and I would just encourage guys to do this, is to experiment with baits that kind of fall out of the normal window of traditional baits, because these fish will react a totally different way if they haven't seen the bait before.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like, for example, I'll tell you, when we while we were doing this, actually, one of the baits that we ran into, which I think it had not gotten popular yet, was a spy bait.
Spy bait. Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely spy
So
bait.
it was actually that first Forcewood Cup as well.
Yeah.
And we heard this Japanese angler was throwing the spy bait.
You're a little bit.
You got you.
closer, guys.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So,
so
you can pull this.
it's habit. Yeah, you
Okay.
take it to you.
Okay,
Yeah, you
cool.
can pull it. You ain't
Is
gonna
this
break
better?
Yeah,
Are
you
we good right
this
there?
thing go
Okay,
wherever
cool.
you want to go.
Cool. Franco,
Okay.
get a little closer.
Okay.
Pick straight up.
Got it.
You know,
The producer is getting on to people, right?
I like
it. All right, so spy bait.
So again,
spy bait. Yeah.
when that first thing started on Lanier, just like these other big baits, that they hadn't seen before. I mean, it was insane. It was insane. It opened up Lanier like a whole new window of Lanier to show that all these fish that haven't seen this bait,
right?
And so they react in a way that, unlike just a typical spook, for example, or a jerk bait. So they see something new, and that spy bait. I told Ryan, I said the first time I took it out there,
I was working that day. I
pulled up, I caught big fish.
Right,
I remember that.
And then eventually it got popular, and then all of a sudden that bite dwindled down.
Okay,
and you could still catch them on a spy bait, but it wasn't like when they first saw the thing. I was at work that day. I remember I worked for Cumulus Broadcasting. I was stuck at my desk, and I couldn't take it. I had to walk outside. I smoked cigarettes back then, so I walked down, smoking a cigarette. Are they biting it? What's going on? And I remember you saying, "I've already got 22 fish on this thing," and I was just like, "This is ridiculous."
And now they're conditioned.
Now they're conditioned to it.
You can still catch them on it. I'm not saying that, but back then it was.
And guys still catching them on it.
Oh yeah.
Definitely not the way it was.
Just not. Yeah, I got you. Okay, I totally got that. So you're on Burton. How do you make the transition from what you're doing? Where are you going next? Down to Lanier or wherever? How does this progression work down?
How does this all come into play? What's going on?
Well, I mean, all of it. So where do you go after you figured out with Burton with the glide baits?
I think it was just really like, anytime we could go fishing, we would kind of commit to that. I remember being on Burton one day with my friend Mark. He was throwing a Carolina rig. He caught 2 4.5 pound spots back to back. I didn't have a bite all day, just committing to this bait. That's one thing that I really want to stress to people. That style of fishing, this is not a numbers game. This is almost like hunting. Like you've got to be committed to it. You can't go out there and bring a big glide bait and have a green pumpkin shaky head sitting right here. Because about noon, 12:30, when you haven't had a bite, we all want a bite, right? You're going to pick that rod up. You've got to go out there and know this is hero or zero. I'm going to commit to this day. I may not get a bite, but I may get a 9-pounder.
Right. Absolutely. Facebook user, that comment right there, Ryan, Franco, what's up, guys? Hey, you might have got on a little late. You might have missed it. If you'll go to www.streamyard.com/Facebook right there and put your name in there in the comment section. When your name you comment, your name will pop up and they can tell who you are. So definitely, so they're saying hello, but it'd be better off if they could see you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you basically, you guys just started doing this. You got addicted to it.
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of. You commit to it. So I'm sure. How long have you been with Cast?
I want to say about a couple years.
Okay, so I'm not trying to jump forward too fast. So this has been something that's been going on with you guys for a while, throwing these style baits.
And, definitely.
Definitely just kind of working the big thing, because a glide bait. I don't know if you go to Lanier. I wouldn't say that the glide bait would be the first thing.
Certain times. In spring.
Yeah,
spring.
Spillets. Okay, spill it.
They don't work. Leave them in the box.
Listen, that's my job to figure it out when they work.
They have their time to shine.
Well, when is their time to shine?
Spring and fall.
Yes, and fall. And we're going to tell you, like, when
we're going to spill the beans. We're going to spill everybody bad. All the guys throwing glide baits are going to be like, do not have those guys back on the show.
Beans about.
Yeah, I see you over there.
Paul, we're gonna make Paul. Listen, and that's fine. But I always say, hey, listen, the confident anglers are the ones that can say, hey, here's what we're doing.
Well, listen,
can't everybody fish their game?
Here's the deal: in the springtime, those big females, they know they're about to spawn. Before they go do that, they want a big meal. Before they, they want their steak dinner, and that is the time to throw a glide bait in any of these mountain lakes. That's when you're going to get. I personally feel like you probably do too. That's where you're going to get one of your biggest
some of the biggest spots to come up
and largemouth.
And largemouth, which is your favorite fish.
That's right.
So anyway, okay, that's fine. So y'all got all this stuff to tell us, and again, like I told you before, this is kind of a little out of my comfort level. So I'm going to be learning. I know Ryan is a topwater guy.
Yeah,
loves topwater. You probably do a little different. I'm sure you'll try this, but you're a little bit different on topwater.
Yeah, I do multiple different things. I do things that some people don't do.
Right. Yeah, you do some other things. So however you want to go with where we're going to go, we can go. I mean, because I don't even know where to even start.
No, I can tell you.
This is a guy who has zero faith in a whopper plopper.
I can't.
I don't know if I can speak for you two or not. But
no, they work.
But the whopper plopper, the whopper plopper works.
I actually,
if you will catch a 3-pound spot just a 3-pound spot on it. The way a 3-pound spot hits a whopper plopper, you'll be like, I'm never putting this down.
What's up, Stephen Barday?
Yeah, they jar it pretty good.
Well, listen. I actually, because we fished down at Varner this past, and it's a largemouth lake, but I threw the whopper plopper about 5 times and went.
That's not enough.
I know it. It was too much for me.
I used to fish Varner. I fished Varner a few times. That lake owns me.
Yeah, trust me. I've been there twice, and it's terrible. But anyway, all right. So,
but there's some grown in there.
There sure is.
There are some grown ones.
Yeah,
they are. So anyway, basically, let's talk about whatever it is you guys want to talk about with this.
Okay.
And what are we trying to teach everybody out there?
Yeah. Let me get to that part. So basically, I would say it's been about 6 years. I moved from Georgia down to Clearwater, Florida. Right.
Right.
And Florida, there's some good fishing down there, right?
Oh, yeah.
And y'all are probably going to laugh. I was sad to leave Georgia to go fishing in Florida because I was just so into the mountain lakes, the spotted bass, I had all my buddies. I moved down there and I didn't want to go drop squid to the bottom of the ocean. That's not my deal, right? I wanted to continue to use artificials. And I remember right when I got down there, I went to a local tackle store and I was talking to a guy and I was showing him swim baits and stuff. And he's like, well, have you ever caught a snook? And I was like, no. He's like, they'll eat those. So he took me out, caught big snook. We started catching tarpon. We started catching grouper inshore on swim baits, and I was pretty ruined. And then my buddy, for his birthday, we got a charter and we went out and caught amberjack on topwater. And so we were burning these baits across. We're fishing over a wreck about 150 feet. You throw your bait out there, you burn it topwater across. And before it was 3-4 pound spots wolf packing on your bait. Well, now I've got amberjack anywhere from 5 to 70 pounds behind my bait.
Right.
At that moment, I was done. Now, this is what I want to do. I only want to do this. I don't even care about anything else. Right. So I really got into like that style of fishing, throwing topwater, jigging out there, which I'll get into later. And I started following cast on their social media platforms on YouTube. And it was a guy named Mick and Ben and their crew out in Australia. And they would catch these fish called giant trevally, GT. And that looked like the most exciting thing. And I was like, my mission is to go catch one of those things. Right. But the baits that they were throwing, they weren't throwing like a normal walk the dog topwater. They were throwing these stick baits. Right. And what these big stick baits would do is they would sweep the rod and the bait would dive down under the water. And then it would pop back up and it would leave this huge bubble trail. Like if you saw it from a bird's eye view, it looked ridiculous. Right. So I went back out to these amberjack and the tuna that I had down there in Clearwater and was able to emulate that style. So basically now every time I'd go offshore, I'd have my topwater rod and my jigging rod, right? And then while I'm doing this, though, I tell Franco about it. Yeah, and it's like Lanier, or at least these herring lakes, they fish a lot more like saltwater than they do like how Varner fishes, right?
Yes.
These fish are all in open water. They're chasing herring. The biggest spots in that lake are chasing herring. And I was like, there's no reason why that wouldn't work back home,
Right. He showed it to me, and I told him, I said, Ryan, without a doubt, this thing is going to work. And so then it was just a matter of time. Yeah, because I was already thinking with the big bait stuff. Then we both were, and all that. So it kind of just all came together, right? And then last fall, as he mentioned, I can let you talk on that a little bit more. He was throwing. I sent him one that is bigger than that.
It's bigger than this one, a black one. I have to go ahead and throw that out there, complete black, which you don't really use that in clear water so much.
Right.
But
that's a little. By the way, that's a little tidbit.
Yeah. That's
there you go. There's your tidbit.
It cast a really good silhouette. So the guys over in Australia, Great Barrier Reef and this tropical water are using black topwater lures in the middle of the day. And you think that's so different. We use chrome over here or, like a ghost color.
Right. Absolutely.
That black, the silhouette, the black puts off in the middle of the day.
The bass don't see it. The spots don't see it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What's that?
Cast Fishing Company right up there.
There you go.
That's probably my buddy Mick right there, which is one of my best friends. He's a great guy.
There you go.
That's awesome.
And let me just say this. I do want to throw this out there about Cast. The reason I'm involved with these guys is they are some of the best people I've ever met in my life. Some of the hardest working, most driven people that I know. When this came to the United States and I helped expand it here, I would work my 9-to-5 sales job, get off at 5, and me and Mick would be on the phone till midnight for a year solid. Right. And that's the sort of things you got to do. If you want to grind and you're really passionate about something, but that guy that just posted that there, I got to give him a shout out, man. When you're around somebody that works that hard and has such a passion, it pushes you. It makes you better. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm very, very thankful for
it's
that.
very much surround yourself with what you want to be.
That's right.
So go help them out. They got a website?
We do. It's castfishing.co.
Okay, so go to castfishing.co tonight after the show or during the show, whichever you want to do. If you got an iPad and a computer or whatever, go on there. Show these guys some love, man.
Appreciate it.
You got anything on here? I'm gonna go ahead and tell you the detail in these baits is awesome. And I'm sure there's something other than just this that is on that website that will catch.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff.
Any of you guys' eyes.
We're going to tell you some stories that not only this bait, but with some other baits that we haven't talked about. I mean, no one's talked about it.
It's curious though that you talk about black.
Now
there is a local angler. He may watch this later. That's been on the show a couple of times. Andy Middleton. He's real big in the kayak scene. But if you ask him about a buzz bait, he said there's one color buzz bait and it's black. Night, daytime, it's black, and that's all he will throw is a black buzz bait. Yeah. So, somebody else has kind of figured that out on a low level.
No,
but the black. So, 100%. But that's interesting though, because I've often wondered with all the detail everybody's putting in all these lures, these days, do we overthink it sometimes?
Some of the guys are letting out this. Randy Blockett just posted a video this week. Actually,
love Randy Blockett
with a black Zara spook. On the title page, and he talks about the guy up there around the Ozarks who was like the legend when it came to spooks. His number one go-to color was a black Zara spook.
Yep. I can't remember his name either.
Cool.
Now this bait that we were throwing last year, and we're going to tell you some stories about it.
Right.
Was black.
Okay, that's awesome.
And we caught some big fish, man. Some on Lanier.
Right.
On Lanier.
And this now, of course, this is probably what this size, which is
so
this is 150 grams, which is what? How many ounces?
You may have to get on my phone.
Yeah, I know.
So the reason
it's
why,
big.
Well,
it is big. Look at the size of this thing.
The guys that, if you want to hold this next to it, the guys that are telling me this is a really big bait you're holding right there, that's a big bait.
Can you get that?
That is more tuna GT.
Yeah, this is a big old joker.
Yeah.
And but this is the one that people around here are saying are really big.
So, and I do want to go over this really quick. I want to say
absolutely.
About this bait, this bottom one here.
The bottom one. All right.
I may have already mentioned this, but this is not a numbers bait. I've had a lot of guys buy this bait from us,
right?
And I don't want them to go out on Lanier and take 2 casts and be like, oh, well, no, you need to go, you got to commit to this bait. If you
just like a glide bait, stuff like that. If you want
a lot of numbers in the boat, put a fluke on, do something like that, catch your fish. You need to tie this on and go out there and throw it. And you need to throw it in the right conditions too.
Okay.
The days that guys don't want to get on Lake Lanier, when they look at the forecast,
right,
it's crappy and it's blowing 20, 30 miles an hour and it's raining. Those are the days I really like. That's the days that they chew like crazy.
And so
for the big baits, I would say.
And so when you're saying that, we're trophy hunting. So when you put this bait on, you're trophy hunting.
That's right. That's right.
it. So you're going for the biggest fish around.
That's right. You're gonna catch. I'll tell you, if you commit to this bait on a day, you will. If you get a bite, you're gonna get one of the biggest bites that you've ever gotten on Lanier. And you'll see, he saw one the other day.
And
we don't even want to talk about
that story because I sound like that guy. I came back up, went fishing the first morning, threw that bait out there. I saw a spotted bass chasing a herring. I threw it over there, and I fished Lanier a lot of times. I mean, I fished when I lived up here 3 times a week. I fished that lake a billion times. Right. The biggest spotted bass I've ever seen in my life hit that, and I can still see the image. I see the sun behind it. He had the spot had a belly like me, and y'all can't see my belly, but it's a good one.
They've seen mine. They know what it looks like. Yeah,
it shook the bait, and I just wanted to puke. I wanted to get back in my truck and drive back to Florida. I was over it,
But you also get a lot of
Charlie Campbell. I watched the same video you watched. I watched it the other day.
So and you also get a. Now this also we're talking spots. But I imagine stripers will hit that.
Oh yeah, I caught him yesterday morning with Mac on it.
Yeah. So stripers, and I've noticed a lot of guys in a comment they fish for largemouth. I've heard several of them saying that they, but a good largemouth to bust that thing too.
Oh, it certainly will.
Even though we're just talking spots, mostly it is a multi-species kind of thing like that. Well, it's got to be. I mean, it's you're catching saltwater and freshwater with these things like that. So, what makes that one special though? What is it about this? Let's talk about the action and then talk about the baits.
There's two different types. So this is a float right here.
Right.
As I mentioned earlier, you can walk the dog with this bait if you want to, but that's not really the intention. You're not getting everything out of this bait if you do that. What you do, this is supposed to be like a dying or hurt herring, right? Or a base fish.
Right.
So you sweep your rod, and what it does is it makes this bait go down and then pop back up, and it leaves a big bubble trail. And while it goes down, it does a big S kick. And 9 times out of 10, I'd say right when that bait pops back up like that, they smash it.
Yeah. And real quick, and David, I'll get your question right there in just a second.
I'm doing that Saturday.
It's cool, man.
So let's talk about the other one because you said there's 2, and then we're gonna ask David's question. You said that one was a or did I just misunderstand?
No. This is a sinking stick bait, right?
Is that in sinking?
And we are still we're probably about a month away. We're going to modify some of these just for bass fishing. You know, we focused a lot on saltwater, but we're going to bring some smaller sizes with terminal tackle in packaging. You know, right now I'll go over that later. While there's no hooks on that bait,
right.
but so I actually fished this one on Lanier the past few days. And you know, when you throw a jerk bait, a crank bait, anything like that, if you want to throw a crank bait, get it really deep, it's going to have a fat lip on it, but it's still going to run on that line.
Right.
It's all about the bill, right? So what you can do with this bait is you can let it sink any part of the water column. You could get it right over the brush. And there's two ways to fish it. You can snap it like a jerk bait, like a jerk drip pause, and it'll do real erratic. But what I've been doing out there is I'm burning it like a Farley or a Sebile. And I'm doing that and stop like that. And what it's doing is it acts like kind of like a hard body fluke. It's got these crazy little angles.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's how I've been fishing it. It's just a different thing, you know, something different they haven't seen.
See, me personally, tournament day, I would tie this bait on to catch a limit.
Yeah.
This is out of these. When I was starting my morning, I would start out with this bait, this size, and to some people, this is probably a little bit on the big side for some people.
Totally.
But I would literally on a blueback herring lake, I would start out with this to get a limit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
After I got a solid limit, I would probably take that off and put this on.
So I was talking to Ryan about this before we started. So last fall, when the spots are feeding heavily on herring, right?
Yeah.
They're feeding on the largest bait fish at that time. I was throwing a 60 gram, which is bigger than this.
Mm-hmm.
And I was literally like killing them. Like I was telling them, like, even on the calm days, when you think that like, you think you need like a bad weather day to be able to get them to bite.
It's going to be a finesse.
Right. No, but I would take it. And I told him, I said, I wish we had the 60 gram, because the 60 gram is actually about that size.
Yeah.
It's a little bit bigger.
By like a 9-inch size.
It's about a 9-inch size.
Okay,
I mean, you throw it like it's a true swim bait. But those fish were acting like, I've never seen this before. Like, and so they were reacting in a way that they never seen this bait before, and they want it. And you're getting the biggest one out of that school that's hanging on that brush or hanging on that point, whatever you're fishing, to come up and nail that thing.
Right. Yeah. Casey Blanton, hey, you're a great fisherman. I know you're catching big ones over there. Yes, you can. There is up in the comment section, there is a link to their website. Going back up.
So rod and reel. Yeah.
We're going to talk. So yeah. He's just showing him the website. Let's start with the first one right here. That is the floater, 40 grams. Again, because these are from Australia, right?
That's correct.
So that's why us, we have to convert it to ounces for us hillbillies up here. So, but anyway, for you smart people, it's just 40 grams. What are we throwing a 40-gram bait on?
You want to answer that?
Just what's your setup? Absolutely. Line, reel, rod, everything. Let's give everybody the setup.
So,
an ounce and a half.
it's
ounce and a half.
Ounce and a half. Is that what it is? Thank you.
So it's not much bigger than a super spook.
Right.
It's not.
Oh, no, it's not terribly heavy. Now this joker is.
Yeah, that you can knock somebody out.
That's what I'm saying. This is a weapon in the right man's hand.
If you go larger than this one, we can talk about that. Then you're getting into kind of a different class of tackle. But
let's do that.
Conventional bass fishing.
You can throw this on conventional bass tackle. I throw it on a 7.6 medium heavy. I throw it on a Shimano X Bride, and then I throw it on a Curotto 200K. I throw it on a high speed reel.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because when you sweep that thing and it pops up,
you gotta get that line back.
They hit it hard.
They hit it right at that moment.
And they hit it right at that moment. You got to catch up fast.
So we're 8?
Yep. An 8.
At least 8.
And 16-pound floor.
Straight floor, no braid, no nothing. We're going floor of those.
No.
Okay, I want to make sure.
And it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Now, if you go the larger size, you got to throw it on like an 8-foot.
Yeah, you got to start getting
swim
bait rods, and
you got to throw it like on a Tranks 300, and you got to throw it with like 20-pound floor.
Okay.
If you get larger than this,
right?
But this one right here, you can pull off with 7.2. I think Ed throws it on a 7.2 medium heavy, right? Yeah.
So whatever you're comfortable with, but that's what you would recommend is a little bit bigger 7.6.
I like it because I'm a little bit taller, and when you sweep,
you are taller. You know what though? When you walked in, I'm not gonna lie to you. I saw your pictures. I mean, I've known you for like 2 years now. I'm like, he's bigger than I thought he was.
His Facebook pictures don't do it justice.
No, it don't do justice. That's what I'm saying. He's a big old boy. He's a big old boy. So okay. So again, though,
so
you need a rod though too. Though, do you want? You said medium heavy.
Medium heavy. You want a backbone, but you want the tip.
You want. That's what I'm saying. You want a fast
tip.
Yeah.
Now, those Shimano, if anybody's familiar with an X Bride, all of those come with a little softer tip on them.
Right.
So it's able to kind of have that little bit of sponge when you pull the bait, and you need that.
7.5 foot rod for castability or for bringing slack in?
Both.
For both.
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
It's
it's
a
the
very
kind-
good question. No, I'm serious.
I mean-
I got to cut. No.
Well, I
good
mean,
question.
I throw all my big topwater plugs on 7.3.
Big hurt.
Yeah.
Franco. So we said Franco,
Oh,
aka
my
Big.
boy.
Yeah.
What's
Oh,
up?
there you go.
Clay, yeah.
Oh, great. Now Clay Moss is here. Here we
There
go.
you go. All
There
right,
we
that's-
go.
We're getting
Yeah, that's
everybody
my
out
man
here.
right there.
Mega Bass. I can't even say that. Leviathan. Would that handle one of those?
That should.
Should? Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
But I
Because
think
that
you don't
thing-
even need to go like I
You
said,
don't
a
have to
medium
go
heavy.
that way.
No.
What you're throwing a jig on, and to be honest about it,
Yeah.
you know,
What I was going to say is the thing that's unique about it, which is different than any other action of bait that you use, is this sweep that you have to do. So when you cast it out and it lands, you have to take your rod and you have to sweep it on slack line, and it makes that bait dive and do an S kick.
On slack line. Now,
On
that's
slack line.
that's the
Leave it.
That's
important.
why you
On
need
slack
that
line.
longer rod
Right.
helps you with that a little bit.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So there you go.
It's actually been fun throwing it on bait casting gear, like casting rods, because everything we do in saltwater, it's all on spinning rods.
Oh yeah.
Everything's
Absolutely.
spinning tackle. So it's been actually, for me, it's been kind of easier doing that with
Yeah.
with a casting setup.
Yeah.
So I've got this on. I'm going, and we're going, since Lanier is the big lake around here.
Yeah,
let's just stay on Lanier. But this will translate, I'm sure, to every other
Yeah.
highland reservoir is what we call them, and maybe even Allatoona like that, because it has crazy spots. You might
Right,
not catch,
right,
but I
right.
mean, it has aggressive spots, and I'm sure they would hit that too.
Yeah.
You're going out tomorrow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, you're targeting offshore structure, so
Yeah.
you're coming up to, so you're casting across the brush piles
Right.
and trying to pop them up aggressively, like humps, stuff like that.
Humps, points,
Anything
brush
that you know.
piles.
So that's what we're targeting with this. We're not casting this towards the bank and working it back.
Yeah, at least
I
on Lanier, I'm definitely over humps, points, brush piles, marina walls, stuff like that.
So you're in deeper water like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
you said spring fall. I mean, that's why I'm kind of asking, because
I mean,
spawn
right
or stuff
now,
like
it's
right now. What
right
would
now we've had some guys report some big catches on it. I mean,
Definitely,
we had some
definitely.
guys that caught some big ones on it. I was catching them really good off the marina walls in the spring on it.
okay.
And when the herring spawn
When the
is,
herring
when you
spawn-
have
Oh, yeah,
herring spawn
right.
structure
They're
on
still
ridge
there.
pilings on,
Yeah.
They're still there.
Yeah.
They're still there listening. But would that be like now? Because the reason I asked for now is because you had said spring, spring and fall is the major times.
Yeah.
But if a guy's wanting to fish it now, we're in the heat of summer, so you're trying to call that fish up,
Right.
right, like that.
I think that the thing that
Or would this be better option?
well, I think with that bait, the thing that you always got to keep in mind,
Yeah.
especially now in
Right.
this time of year. So, for example, you can go out there right now with a little chug bug or a Zara spook and catch numbers, right?
Mhm.
But if you want to get that 4 or 5, you want to get your personal best.
That's it.
That's it.
That's a personal best right there.
Throw that deal.
Throw that deal. Okay. And you would throw the top water over the sinking right now?
So I
I would
haven't
throw
gotten my hands
both.
on the sinking.
I would throw
Okay,
both.
so
I would have
okay.
both
Yeah.
landed.
So okay.
Because let me say this. Let me
Absolutely,
say
jump in
because
there.
this is one thing when you was explaining this to me earlier,
answer that. You got it in your hand. Does the floating Jeremiah will show? Does it rattle?
No, these
This
are-
one doesn't. These are all silent.
That's the swivel that kind of spins around. That's another thing too. That
Yeah.
it has a swing. You can tell.
Let's zoom in on me right here, Paul. This is one of the first things that jumped in my mind right here, or jumped out.
Caught
to
your
me.
eye.
Yeah, popped my eye. That swivel right here that the front hook goes on, this thing moves
And why did that? Why?
it spins, so they
and
can't
it
get
spins.
they can't get leverage on the hook.
Okay.
Exactly what Franco said.
No
That is the
leverage.
whole purpose behind that. And I don't think you guys realize how badass that is.
That helps.
I mean, it really helps. I mean, it's just. I mean,
Until-
when I
until-
picked this bait up, I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, because because we've all been there. We've all thrown your regular top waters on like Lake Lanier.
And
How many times have we had them come up to the boat and they have this front hook and it's just like hanging out of their mouth right here,
Oh, yeah.
and they twist just right and try to go under the boat, and they get the right amount of leverage on this thing
That's
to where
right.
when they go into the boat, it comes off.
Bye. Yeah.
This right here is going to increase keeping your hookups.
And that those
When you
guys
get
thought of
this-
that. They were
when they
pretty
get
smart
fish
for that
on.
one. Another thing on that bait too. Not that this will ever really come into play on our lakes, but you can see this is a line through construction. So basically, it's balsa wood, and it's got this line going.
Oh, these
all
are
the way
balsa.
through.
These are balsa.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
Yep, yep.
if you were to snap that in half, this will still be in one piece, hooked up to your fish. So when you get into like a larger fish, like maybe a tuna or something, if the bait was to ever break, you're still connected to your fish. That's the line that's going right.
All
through
right,
this.
so all the way through. That's right. You mentioned that to me on the phone and all that we
Yeah.
were talking about. one of the things, and I tried to post it, and I don't know why it wouldn't let me. I tried to post a video that you had sent me, and somehow, some way, we'll get it all up there. But you sent it to me, and when you pop this thing, and you mentioned it earlier, it does something that's a little bit. It sprays kind of. But it sprays without the use of a bill or anything like that.
What we call an S kick.
But it does a vicious one.
It does a very vicious S kick. So it goes down and it leaves a bubble trail.
Yeah. But it ain't,
for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It totally mesmerizes.
And another thing,
and it's an impressive bubble trail, though. That's what I'm saying. Because I was watching you go.
If you're out there sweeping it, and let's say you don't get a good sweep on it, you mess it up. Well, it kicks right across the surface. That's okay too. You know what I'm saying? Like that's still another action because you don't see every fish just going. Like, that's really cool. I did that a few times this week and got hit after that happened as well.
Okay, all right.
It's one of the beauties of topwater fishing, guys. There's really no wrong way to throw a topwater. And, if you can, sit there, stand there on the deck of your boat or on the bank or wherever you're fishing or whatever and just be like, what looks like a fleeing bait fish?
Right.
You know, that may look stupid to you, but it may look stupid reeling something this fast across the top of the water and all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. And it's like, wait, it works.
Stupid and effective and being effective is two different things. Now, Ryan wants you to go over water clarity while fishing these baits. And let's just, because we haven't talked about the sinking one as much. So let's talk about the top water. So water clarity.
Who is asking that? Blake
Mead.
That lake in Florida we go to. That's the only lake. That's my buddy trying.
Don't he make jigs?
He does. He loves bass fishing. He's a very, very good fisherman.
Yes, he is. I think he had like 20-something pounds in a tournament or so, like a week or so ago.
Down
in Florida. We're not gonna hold that against you, but I do watch. I follow him. I see.
He's a good guy. There is a lake I make him drag me to all the time. It's the only clear lake down there, and it's the one that Shaq and Tiger Woods and everybody had a house on. It's called Lake Butler, and it was super clear, so I could treat it as my own little Lanier down there. That's how stupid I am. Y'all are probably laughing at me because there's giant bass everywhere, but that's why he's saying.
Is that why he's saying that?
It would work on the Butler chain lake.
Okay, but so clear water.
I think clear water. Yeah.
And this particular one is this color. I mean, what color is this? The herring.
Yeah.
So you think this is? I mean. You prefer this over any of the other colors?
I like black too.
I like black. That's right. Yeah.
We have some other colors in the. Yeah. I think in the 60 gram. Do you sell the other colors in the 40 gram?
Like, yeah, there's also as I said earlier, this is coming from saltwater to freshwater. So we have a flying fish, which is chrome, which I think, would work good. But we're adding a few colors here.
That's awesome. So Jeremiah said, I've noticed a difference with swiveling hook hangers with the glide baits. I imagine they help just as much on topwater and stuff like that.
Right,
so again,
yeah, he knows about swim baits.
I knew he'd show up when you're talking about big baits. I mean, Jeremiah, look at this joker.
Yeah, Jeremiah needs one of those.
I'm not gonna lie to you. The first person I thought about when he set this out, I said, "Well, Jeremiah would like that."
So he would. So Jeremiah, I watch your stories like every day on Facebook and Instagram. I expect here within the next couple of weeks.
He has one of those tied on.
You have one of these tied on, Jeremiah. I want to be watching because I watch your stories every day, Jeremiah.
There's the challenge, Jeremiah. We want you to. I mean, this one right here is
that's pretty insane.
It is. Well, he throws stuff like it's 150 grams.
That is actually. I'm pretty stoked about this. On July the 8th, I'm going to Cape Cod to throw those at Bluefin. So that should be pretty crazy.
Okay, so what is excuse me real quick, what is the proper name for this? Like the bait name. What is the actual bait's name? I had somebody ask right over there.
That's an OG herring.
OG herring.
40 gram.
40 gram. And it's float. Is it just cast?
Yeah, cast. And you can,
there's nothing like, bad shad, bad rap, nothing like, I'm just straight up cast.
Herring.
Herring. Okay. OG herring. Yeah. All right. And this is a 40 gram floater. We've talked about it. It's a float. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about the sinking one here in a second. And this behemoth is a 150
that's a fat
gram
boy float.
But this looks like something that they'd be fishing with wicked tuna and stuff like that.
Dude, if one eats that, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Now I wanted to tell you guys.
Yeah.
This is for you, man. They have a 60 gram that that was the one that we were throwing last year.
Yeah.
And they clobbered that one during the fall. So it's just a little bit bigger. So if you're comfortable with throwing this size bait,
right?
Yeah, you can size up to that 60 gram.
Yeah,
that's the deal. As I was telling him, I was like, dude,
it almost turns into more. I know I just said this whole thing about numbers bait and going for one big bite in the fall, though. That's almost a numbers bait in a way. I mean, at least it was.
This one right here.
And
then but going up to the next size, that's where you get. Yeah. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, see, during the fall and the turnover, when that turnover period starts happening, they've really only got one thing on their mind. and that's eat.
Right, yeah.
Eat. That's really all that. That's why, that's why there's a lot of people that are like, oh, fishing during a turnover kind of sucks. Well, you need to keep moving. You need to not slow down. You need to keep moving, because the fish aren't going to set up on your typical structure for like fall before it gets right into winter. They're going to be moving. They're going to be eating. So I understand 100% completely where you guys are coming from with throwing this bait in the fall for numbers. Because just to me, man, if I was I'm pretty big, but if I was a 4 or 5 pound spot, man, I'd be like, and I seen that, I'd be like, gotta have it.
Listen, you're kind of like excited. Right?
I am excited.
I mean, seriously, like you are kind of like, I'm like, you're happy.
I am excited.
I'm glad you're
well,
happy.
like I said, what I was saying earlier was that what got me all excited was, many of y'all probably been there, and I know y'all probably been there. They come up schooling, and they come up and, you're just out of range of them where you just can't miss it. Well, when your top water's up there, those fish are already starting to go back down. They're not going to turn back around and come back up. They will every blue moon, but but the percentage isn't that high. And I've always thought to myself, I said, man, if I had something else other than just your atypical bait to throw in there when they start to go down, to get that big profile, profile that they're chasing. Because when you see them, oh my God, they're chasing bait, and their bait's coming out of the water like this size, and it's like, and it just, you throw over there, man, they went down.
You're dead on, man.
But now you've got something in my mind. Yes. Now I have something to throw at them. When I see them too late.
And you'll get on them too as well, because you can about spool your reel every time you cast.
That's what I was
just so you know. Yeah. You can
that thing launches a mile.
Oh, I bet it does. There's no doubt. And this is, yes, that's 40 gram too. Yeah, okay, so they're both that.
So that's why you got to have a 200 size reel. If you're going with like that 16-pound fluoro or even like 15-pound mono or something like that, you got to make sure you got to have a 200 size reel, because you're going to like cast that thing and it's going to go.
Well, I can almost spool a whopper plopper. I can almost spool the big whopper plopper.
Yeah, so I can. So I can absolutely imagine.
I've thrown a big old whopper plopper and all the way out there, and it's like, oh, there's my knot. Reel that back in real quick.
Jacob, you can buy them at castfishing.co.
Yeah, and actually, if guys get on there, we sold through these lures pretty dang quick, right? Saltwater guys. Cast is really well known in Australia and starting to get there here, but a lot of guys know cast baits. So even like Hawaii, the guys fish for GT out there, they'll come by all our baits pretty quick. We just restocked today. It should be up on the site in the next few days. The herring is available. The 40 gram float, we still have a pretty decent amount of these on there. So if guys get on there and they see that, but all the other colors and some newer colors will be restocked here within the next few days.
Okay, that's awesome. Right, so
do they still have in some of the local stores too?
They do. I believe they have them at Oakwood, at Hammond's. I'm trying to think where else. The Dugout has some as well. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. And then also Mac Farr has some available on his site as well.
Perfect.
That's a good chunk of the herring.
Absolutely perfect. All right, so that was the top water. Now, this is the same thing, sinking. All right. How are we going to fish this different? What are we looking for? What are we throwing it on?
Actually, you could throw it on the same exact setup that we just mentioned. My switch would be to put fluorocarbon. Right now I'm fishing mine on 15-pound mono, the floating one.
The floating one on
when I go to sink, I'm just fishing fluoro. That's the difference on that. And I'm using a high-speed reel because, as I mentioned earlier, I'm burning that thing.
So you're burning it, stop, burning, stop.
Yep.
Is that the black one?
Yeah, that's it.
Are you checking it out already?
That's the deal.
So it's not 100% black.
No, it's got some chrome.
It's chrome and black.
Got some chrome.
So for you chrome and black super spook guys,
show them. Can you show it on?
I don't think I can show it on here. So if you just go to cast fishing,
point it at a camera and just say.
I wish I would have brought one, man.
No, that's cool.
I mean, they may can see that. I don't know. Yeah,
you can kind of
see it. So it's got your chrome, but it's got your black. Your black profile across the back, kind of like that. Is that?
I just had to look at them.
Yeah.
Did you find the one you wanted?
I found a bunch of them I want.
All right. So anyway, so what are we targeting with that puppy right there? Right now, brush piles, like I said,
piles, points, windy points.
Nothing different. You could actually have both of these on.
Yeah.
Go over it, top water, try it, and then turn right around and put it.
Exactly right. That's a follow up bait.
And use it as a follow up.
I have some.
Yeah. Now, does it count down at a certain rate? Are we talking similar to a spy bait?
This 40 gram sinks pretty fast. It'll get down there. So if you cast out and start running your mouth to your buddy, you could put it in the brush pile.
You could put it in the brush pile. So you got to pay attention.
Yeah. And like I said, we are, I will have some samples here in the next few days of some 30 grams. I'm still, this is, coming to freshwater is a new thing for us. So there's still some tinkering that we're trying to really dial this in and get it to be what we want it to be.
Right. And you've been, we've been talking back and forth for a while. Something interesting just for people. I want them to kind of just hear this. When you buy saltwater baits and stuff like that, they don't come with hooks. You were telling me about that.
Out of this country.
Yes. Tell them why. I just want everybody to understand.
Yeah, this has been a thing, and and people order the baits off our site, and they're like, "Well, it doesn't come with hooks."
Yeah, so if you're ordering right now, it does not come with hooks.
That's right. You need your own terminal tackle.
Right.
Right now, what's working for me is a 1/0 owner hook, and I use Spro 90-pound split rings. The reason why I'm using 90-pound is because this bait can be fished in both saltwater and freshwater. This is a thick gauge swivel right here. Right. If you put on your little normal swivels you would use for your poppers and stuff, it's going to open up and you're going to have a heck of a time getting it over that.
It's just going to split when it first gets on.
So use the 90-pound, the heavier ones. It doesn't affect the bait, how it sits. It doesn't affect the action, but go a little bit bigger than what you're thinking.
Gotcha.
So anyways,
but tell them why.
So well, in Australia and other places, I even talked to Mick the other day, and I was like, "Could you elaborate on that?" Because that's like the number one question. He's like, "Well, mate, like most of which I just experienced recently, most of the baits when we buy them, we get them out of the package. The terminals are garbage. The hooks are garbage. They last 1 or 2 fish and all this. And we just got to the point where it was stupid to do that. So now, if you go into a retail store over there, you'll have this hanging on a peg or however it's being sold. Right. Then you'll have all the hooks, and so people because it affects the action of the bait. If I was to put super, super huge, heavy, thick gauge saltwater hooks on this, it might sit down, it might not swim right. So you match them depending on the bait. That's how they do it.
But that's common elsewhere.
But for here in America, no, we wanted the package, we want that. And when we start bringing in the freshwater tackle, the smaller sizes, we will actually accommodate and put hooks and swivels and all that on.
Tail feathers. Yes or no?
I say no.
I do.
I say no.
Oh, here we go.
Here's the deal, though.
Here we go.
Okay, let me explain to you something about it.
Yeah, look. He likes it. Now you're getting excited.
Me and Franco are in the same boat, so I want to hear what Franco has to say.
So here's the thing. It's a thing, right?
Yeah.
We believe in tail feathers.
Yes.
So here's the thing. I went and got my own tail feathers custom tied for the large because they don't sell a treble that's big enough for the 60 gram bait.
Right.
You can get one for this one.
Yeah.
But the key thing is you can't have too much feather.
Okay.
Because it affects the S kick.
When it's going like that, it puts drag behind it.
So we're talking, here's the hook, and we're talking about a tail feather about a half an inch
just
behind
enough
the hook.
to catch the eye.
Right, so not your typical.
I know.
Dude, if they're coming up to eat that big steak dinner, they don't care if there's a little.
It's
a confidence. It totally is.
It's a confidence
and you'll
thing.
catch fish because of that. If you have that confidence, you're feeling good about what you're throwing, you better put a feather on there.
I put a feather hook on every
You
time.
I do too.
Oh, you're a feather. Okay, so that's just
any top waters, pop bars, anything. It's got to have a tail feather hook. The only reason why I believe in the tail feather hook is because I've been standing on the front deck with my buddy, and me and him throwing over the exact same brush pile, and they come up to my bait, and they come up to
you're
his
wearing
bait.
them out. That
and he's just standing there like, it's because I don't have a tail feather on the back of my hook. I'm like, well, I got some in the boat, man.
Yeah. What's the difference?
Tie one on.
Because evidently people on the website. What's the difference in float and floating on the website?
That's a great question. I think it's pretty much the same thing.
Perfect. I totally get that. Now, I'm just this color. We talked about black in the silhouette.
Yeah.
I don't know if we mentioned it or not. Would you throw black in the sinking? Do the same silhouette apply? I mean, does that same principle apply?
They do in Australia. That's something I personally haven't tested here. So
I was just curious.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to yet. That's something I'm going to try. I definitely would try it.
Absolutely.
But I haven't done it yet.
So barramundi act a lot like bass.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a question to ask someone who's done that fishes for barramundi with these baits. Yeah.
GT as well. GT act very similar.
They act very similar to the bass too.
GT.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw Jeremiah mention it in the comments a little while ago. So
I actually had the chance to go catch one of those, and now I'm addicted. I want to go back.
What is it? Pound for pound, they're like the strongest fish or something.
Reef thugs. It's dumb.
And
let me tell you, an amberjack will straighten your back out. I mean, it is pure pain. A GT is it's just, I can't even describe it. It's another level. You see the videos. I'm sure everybody's seen this video because it kind of went viral. The fish going and eating the birds off the top of the water. That's a giant trevally. If you haven't seen it, I'll show it to you.
Yeah,
It's
no, I
pretty
haven't
ridiculous.
seen that. Yeah.
But when I was over there, I remember hooking a GT, and you know, if you don't fish saltwater much, what happens is whether you're catching a snapper, grouper, or a shark comes and eats it, right? So you're sitting there reeling, fighting, and then it just kicks into another gear. And I remember I hooked a GT, and I'm fighting it, and I'm with my buddy. We doubled up, and I was like, oh dang! I was like, he got sharked. Well, that fish didn't get sharked. He just kicked it into a gear I'd never experienced a fish kicking it into. But they're awesome, man, and they're crazy. I don't know, and I guess, you know, you have to go so far for us to catch them that it makes it super special.
Yeah, tell them where you went to catch it.
Yeah, I couldn't have gone if I went any farther, I'd be closer. And I know that sounds crazy.
No,
I went to the Maldives, and I went to a place called Balsa. That was quite an experience right there.
Off the coast of India. Right?
That was, it was in the Indian Ocean below Sri Lanka. Yeah. And it was,
there you go.
Yeah, I went fishing.
Yeah, so you ain't going right down the road.
That was the whole thing. And you know what, though, man? I want to tell you, I do want to mention that about that trip because I think it's really interesting. The whole entire time we were going to go on that trip, I had the GT on my mind. That's all I was thinking about.
Right.
I didn't realize how culture shocked I'd be or how different, or the jet lag, right? You know, you fly over there. So I left from our winter to their summer, right? That's a change. It was 3 a.m. here. It's 3 p.m. over there. So then your body's trying to adjust to that. And fishing for these GT, you're using big Stella reels, big gear, big poppers in the tropical sun, throwing them all day. That wore me out. But really, I will say this, though. That trip was more about the people that I met than the fishing. And the first day we got there, we were in the capital of the Maldives. It's called Male. And we went down to the beach, and I didn't realize it's all like coral out there. We thought it was sand. So I was casting. I already cut my foot, and I come walking back in. Right. And one of the local guys is out there. Of course, he's barefoot, right? He knows the deal. And he says something to me, and I look over, and he makes me, come over here. And he pulls an octopus out of his pocket. And I'm like, what the heck? And he's like, oh, do you have one? Do you have one? And I was like, no, I don't have one. I didn't know we were supposed to be out there trying to catch octopus, but that was his lunch. And he's like, well, where are you staying? And I was like, right up there. But it was just that moment of, you don't know me from anywhere. And I couldn't get octopus for lunch, but you got one, so you're going to come share it with me. And that was the first thing that really hit me hard over there. I was just like,
that's pretty cool.
And then the other thing was, I do a lot of stuff on Instagram, right? And this guy named Addy had found me like a few months before. We were chatting about GTs because I was talking about them. And him and his father had built a boat out of wood they found on the island to take European tourists fishing for these GTs. He came and found me on Ba'a Toll, and we went over to his house. And when I say his house, I mean a shack on a dirt road. Mm-hmm. Alcohol is illegal in that country, so we didn't even sit around and have beers. They cut open coconuts, and we sat there and drank them. And so Addy could speak English, right? But his dad couldn't. So I was showing him a picture of a tarpon. I'm trying to show him my best fish. I'm a fisherman here. And he would tell Addy to tell him it's very small fish. And I was like, look, I went to the other end of the world, and fishermen still are the same over there. You know what I'm saying?
I've caught one.
So that was a cool experience. But enough on that. That was pretty awesome.
No. Listen. Yeah. This show is not. Yeah. Not stuck on just what happens right down the street. Yeah, no, experiences and life.
It was cool.
That's awesome.
It was cool.
I definitely like to hear the stories about stuff. I went to Romania a couple years ago, like I was telling you. Yeah. And I'm just same kind of going in shack houses and stuff like that. So we were doing all that, but the whole time, anytime I cross a stream or something, I wonder what they fish for over there. Right. And we didn't get the opportunity to do that, but still, you think about it, it's universal.
Totally.
People fish everywhere. It totally is. Different aspects.
Romania, probably roach and carp.
Romania, I don't know. It's an interesting place. So we were way out in the country, so it looked like almost like trout streams.
Yeah.
Oh, they're like they could have trout, but then when you go into the city and they got those the cities are built around the rivers. People out there. I'm sure there's some stuff like that.
That's where those giant whales catfish live.
Yeah, big catfish like that eat you. So okay, now we where else you want to go with this?
You want to talk about the jigs?
Yeah,
I know we're going to talk. Yeah, I know you want to talk totally different direction. So pretty much though, as this, you got okay. You go take your bathroom break. That's what he's doing.
Do we got a water up there by any chance?
Yeah, Coke or Sprite.
Any of it. Yeah, just
bring the man something to drink.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You want Sprite or Coke?
Sprite's cool.
There you go. So,
right here.
there you are down here. Okay,
nice.
So FNG black bass is.
I'm good.
Let's see. Jeremiah said the FNG black bass is apparently the hardest fighting fish in the world, according to Lefty Cray and a lot of other guys. Ever caught one?
No, but I would like to.
Okay, so
they look pretty wicked. I've seen them before.
So tell everybody what that is.
I've just seen pictures of them. I've seen guys target them. I don't fish for much myself. Is it freshwater, saltwater?
I think it's saltwater.
Saltwater.
Okay. All right, so like that. And hello, Ron Abner up in Woodbury, Tennessee. We appreciate you. Oh, look, we got two guys from Woodbury, Tennessee watching. You guys live right down the street from each other and didn't even know it. So, again, appreciate the guys in Tennessee tuning in tonight. So that's pretty cool, like that. So, but anyway, so as far as this bait goes, before we transition, anything else other than you're going to be coming out with some smaller bass sizes. That's kind of 30 grams, stuff like that. So be looking for those on the horizon. And if, I think I noticed somebody said that they were sold out of the herring already. So you guys must have sold it out pretty quick. I thought I saw somebody that said the 40-gram herring was sold out.
I'm not sure, but I'll check on that.
Double check on that. So just anyway. So again, but we're pretty good on this before we transition into that thing. All right. So now what's next? What are we talking about? You've been talking about this.
Slow pitch jigging.
Slow pitch jigging.
Yeah, that is my my shaky head of the ocean.
Shaky head of the okay. So guys, so listen. Slow pitch jigging.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's what I actually I brought my setup.
Absolutely.
See if I can get it on.
We like it when people have props and stuff like that. So
I'll show you. I don't want to knock your lights and everything.
No,
they can see this right here, and you can, if you want to hold this too and check out how light this is. So basically.
I hear Paul back there.
I do have. I think they're actually in my bag over here. I can grab them in a second.
Okay, so first of all, this is a different kind of.
It looks pretty wild, right? So that's that.
Real, guys.
I'm going to use that reel in the ocean. I'm not going to use that for spotted bass on Lanier. Right?
Okay, all right.
But what slow pitch jigging is it's basically a way you guys would call it. I guess it's very similar to spooning here, right?
Yeah.
The whole purpose of this rod you're holding is only to move what we call the jig, right? To move the jig. Has nothing to do with fighting the fish. You don't use the rod to fight the fish, which is the craziest thing.
Right.
It goes totally against what we know as fishermen, right? So
yeah, don't worry about that noise. That's just
a good one
here. That's the plumbing here.
Okay. Okay. Good deal. Good deal.
I know y'all like, what is that noise in the background? No, that's just the plumbing.
So basically, the rod you get different powers, and it's based on how big of jig you're going to put on there. And this is a high-speed reel right here.
Yes, it is.
What you do is a half crank, full crank. That's considered a pitch, and it's going to make that jig flutter up off the seafloor and flutter back down. And that's what we use for groupers.
Half pitch, full pitch.
Right, right. Okay. So the rod, once you hook up on a fish, though, when we hook a fish, we start pulling against it, reeling, pulling against it, right? You point that down, and you find them directly off the reel. And that rod you're holding right there, I've landed a 250-pound shark on.
Really?
Which just sounds absolutely insane.
It is because it's very, very thin.
Right.
I mean, it's more thin than some of our bass rods.
Yeah. So it's a game more of patience. But what you find is when you fight a fish that way, they act a little different.
Right.
It's almost like you're tricking them to come up. Another thing I want to point out about that setup is the hooks.
Yeah. So
okay. And I think that really pertains to what we're doing with bass fishing and stuff like that. Let me help you.
It's a double hook, ain't it?
Yeah. If they can see that.
Can you see that, Paul? This double hook setup.
So that's what we call assist hooks. And if you can see the top part here,
this is assist hooks.
Assist hooks, right? Everything right here. I'm going to stand up and show you.
That's fine.
Everything right here goes onto that swivel. Your jig is separate from those hooks. So what that does is when you hook a fish, he can't use that jig to throw it. He can't use the leverage. When I grew up here and when I fished here in Lanier a lot, when guys were using spoons, they were using. I'll send it back over here.
There's your hooks.
Yeah, you can drop it. Okay. We'll see if we knock things around.
That's all right.
Over your head, Franco.
Cool. Yeah, and now you might be able to hold it up better because he's got the camera on you pretty good right there too. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, so you might be able to get it better. So you're right there at that camera right there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I don't know. See if they can see this right here. So you'll see it's a swivel to a split ring, and the hook comes off that. You put the jig right here; it'd be separate. So what I was saying is, like when I used to fish here, a lot of guys would drop spoons, flex it spoon, whatever kind of spoon you want,
right?
And they would use a medium heavy rod with a treble hook off the bottom, and you get some of the fish, but you lose a lot of fish doing that.
Right.
Having those assist hooks keeps the fish from being able to throw it, and you'll land them, 95% of the time because of that. So
same applies here, guys.
Yeah.
Same for Lanier. So now we're out of season. But so when he got on that bite, you started telling me about the slow pitch jigging. You can tell it's like a bass setup, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So he was like, we talked about it and said, it's just almost just like a flutter spoon. But so he sent me a few and we started dropping them during the late winter
when you spoon up here.
And the same technique. And we're going to talk about the technique a little bit. And the same applies to spotted bass.
Okay.
for those in the deep ditches.
Now, so any particular spoon that you would use on that?
Cast. They make some
Cast,
spoons.
that's what I said.
I fancy those a
Do
little
you
bit.
fancy
Yeah,
those? You
yeah.
got, you got a couple of them? Or
I do.
you-
I do. I have some of the bigger ones. I want to show you the bigger ones I use in the ocean. I don't have any of the smaller ones.
That's
what
fine,
I would say
that's
is
fine.
a 20, 30 gram for Lake Lanier,
Right.
the small ones. But I came up here, actually sent him some. I think, was it in Burton? You got a 4-pound spot doing that, right?
Yeah.
And then I came up here and fished with Mac Farr. I'll say it was last winter.
Right.
And it was very successful for stripers and spotted bass. It's a very different way to show these fish, just like your normal spoon and all that. What those little jigs do is they kick off to the side, and it's like an injured bait fish a lot more than like your normal spoon doing this.
Right.
When I was in the ocean doing what I realized is I could have the guy over here using squid. This guy's using a live pinfish. We'd go on 7 trips, 5 of them, I'd catch twice as much fish on the piece of lead on this metal. And it's because of that reaction strike. So I saw how successful it was. And it was another thing where I kind of got my wheels turning, was like, we have deep, clear water on Lake Lanier. Why we're spooning up there? Why wouldn't this work?
Right. Okay.
And it's a totally different technique. The way that you retrieve it is that you lift it, let it fall, lift it, let it fall, lift it. And it's amazing. Those spots just came up and would come and gravitate to it. And while the bait is actually, like you say, and it's kicking off, they pick it up.
Okay.
And I caught some pretty big spots.
Yeah,
The first time we got it out there.
Yeah. And guys don't need to fish this way, to slow pitch in fresh water. Let me say this. You don't need this same setup over here, right? Obviously not the reel, but the same rod.
Right.
The same rod you're using for a jerk bait, like a very soft rod.
Right.
It's all about that rod tip moving the jig, which is opposite than what we did before. We had a medium heavy rod that we would use for spoons, right? You
Right.
want the rod tip to move the jig. You want a high speed reel, right? So, what reel were you using for that?
I was using my jerkbait setup actually. So it was like a 610 medium action with like a very small. I was actually throwing it on a metanium.
Yeah,
a
very
metanium.
small.
It's got a very small spool on it. But again, you just want that very soft rod to load up and let go.
I like so Jeremiah's comment. So the main difference is slow pitch jigging is done mostly with the reel, and traditional speed jigging is done with the rod. Now that's a question.
So, I can explain that, because when I first got down there, all I did was speed jigging, called vertical jigging, because I was still so stubborn I didn't want to use bait, right? And what you do with speed jigging, you have a spinning reel, a heavier, shorter rod, you lock your drag down, and you're doing this. You're pumping the heck out of it. And by, an hour going into that day, you're completely worn out, right? When you fight the fish, you're pulling against them, how we normally do. Slow pitch jigging is a very, there's probably not enough room for me to stand up and do this in here. It's very slow. You're just lifting it off the seafloor, letting it fall down like this.
Gotcha.
When you hook it, you're using lighter line. I'm like I said, I put big sharks, big grouper. I'm only using 30-pound braid over there on my reel. That's very important. In the ocean, you have a lot of current, right?
Right.
So if you start using thicker braids, it scopes out. You want to stay as vertical as possible as you can with that. And actually, when we go deeper, we'll use, I think I fished 770 feet, and I use 14-pound braid.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it's insane, right? I don't really want to ever do that again, by the way, fish that deep.
Yeah.
it was a workout, because I was the one guy on the boat that hooked a big wire ball where there was supposed to be nothing, and I reeled it up from 775 feet.
Yeah. So you guys at Carter's quit complaining.
Actually, I'm glad you said that. That lake for that.
So you think?
So what pound test would you use on Carter's if we were going to Carter's tomorrow to go do that?
If I was going to use braid, I would use 15 or 20-pound braid and a 12-pound fluorocarbon leader.
Okay.
Yeah.
For fresh water.
I was using 10-pound fluoro on it, and I was dropping a 1.5 ounce weight jig, which is like a 40-gram jig, and it worked fine. The thing is amazing about it is that you can hook some really big fish on it, and again, you use the play on the rod to really load up. And once you use those assist hooks, they can't throw it.
Right.
No, they're there. Yeah, that's the whole
they
thing.
can't get any leverage on you.
When they got it, they got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that answer any questions about that?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, and that's a little bit different. So what time of year are we doing that?
I was doing it late fall, early winter,
Okay.
right when they get in the ditches. And
Okay. So you went after them in the ditches with a spoon,
Yeah,
as opposed
Right,
to
when that
a lot
bait's
of guys.
grouped up. And
A lot of guys will go after them with the jig, stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah,
right over the top of them on the edge of the timberline.
you fish the ditches a lot up on Lanier in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So do you jig at all
With spoon?
with spoon?
Some.
Is that not a confidence thing?
I would prefer to catch them on a moving bait
Okay. All right.
in the winter, just because I personally feel like I'm going to get a bigger bite on a moving bait.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So
understand that,
it's
I'm in concurrent with you on that one.
so
Well, it's okay. So how important are electronics? with this type of setup too? I mean, you're still using the electronics to find them. You go down to your spot. And
Yeah.
so
It's like your drop shot.
So
You want to be, it's
that's what I'm
like
saying.
Lanier Gym,
It's a
video
vertical.
game fishing, vertical. Yep. You want to do the same thing.
Speaking of which, Lanier Gym will be here next Thursday night,
Yeah,
just to
gave
let
us a
you know.
plug.
That's right. I get my little plug in.
I saw him on the water yesterday.
Did you see him?
Yeah. Old Jimmy.
Listen, I went and picked up some baits that we bought from him the other day, and I said, "You ain't been on in a while. You need to come on." He's always a good
he's
time.
a good dude. He's one of the first people I ever fished with on Lake Lanier. He took me out in the middle of the lake. This is coming from largemouth world, and I remember we're sitting in the middle of the lake. This is a long time ago.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna catch anything out here, and we probably caught 33 bass on a drop shot first day of a drop shot, and I was like, "That's amazing."
There's something to it. No, it's definitely something to it. He's always you never know what you're gonna get with him though when he's here. So I mean, it's kind of, you're always on edge. I don't know what's going to come out of his mouth, but we have a good time. So
He's a good dude.
he is a good dude. He is a really good dude. He's got a good heart.
Yeah.
Rough exterior, good heart. That's what I say like that.
Yes.
All right, so let's see some of them spoons you got from Cast. You said you had some of them
I
like that?
have some of the saltwater ones.
That's okay.
And you might
That's
think
okay.
they're big and
No,
ridiculous.
let's see
I
them.
wouldn't use this something here, but I can
Everybody
show you.
That's
likes to
okay.
see
I
stuff.
literally on my boat right now. I have a spoon, a flutter spoon tied on this big.
Oh, I
right
have
now.
one bigger upstairs, for sale upstairs.
Right.
So, Chris
So-
Taylor, good afternoon, son. It's not, buddy.
Good afternoon.
I don't know where you're at, but yeah.
That's
So,
not too big.
oh, no. That's not big. But now I noticed this is a little bit different. So
These are heavy.
these
though.
are heavy jokers.
because I've got
Those are
ocean
really
current. Now
good.
that's not the ones we fish in freshwater.
But are they shaped similar? Is it more of a
actually,
lead weight than a flutter spoon?
The ones for freshwater are going to be more of a leaf shape. I'm
Okay,
using
so I'm
those
trying
right
to
there.
show that so you can see all sides. So it's not a concave kind of spoon. So it's more like a
Right. So the ones that are smaller are a little bit different. They have a different shape because there's no current in our lakes here. I mean, yeah, they do draw water, but
Right.
not like ocean current.
gotcha.
Why that's that shape is, when we go deeper, like I said, the name of the game is staying vertical as possible.
Gotcha.
And
that
we're
would do it.
drifting when we're fishing. You want that shape right there has less resistance. It cuts through the water and it gets down. So that's why we're using those. But I had them in my bag from.
No,
the other day
that's
fishing out
awesome. At least
Listen,
I like product.
Listen,
man.
if
Anything
you're
with
worried
product
about
up.
if you're worried about staying vertical with this thing,
there. Yeah, no, I know.
It's
So
like-
that's 200 grams. We drop 300 grams, 400 grams, 500 grams, depending on where you're at.
So what is
Yeah.
the typical gram size, i.e. ounce for something like on there?
40 grams.
40
Yeah,
grams. So 40
20 to
grams is
40,
pretty.
I would
I
say.
do 40.
You do 40 and spoon everything. I mean, it's that because those are 40.
Yeah.
And your spoon's
Yeah.
40 like that. So
I
that's
mean, you could
pretty good.
downsize to 20. I think that's the smallest you could go, but I think with a 40-gram jig, you're fine.
Okay. And what's funny is now when you say jig,
Yeah, I know.
You
That's
mean-
what's so messed up.
you're
It's-
meaning spoon.
yes.
We
You're
call
meaning
it,
spoon.
yes.
Y'all call it a jig. Now,
Yeah.
is that a saltwater terminology in saltwater? They're jigs, or is that just what y'all call it?
No, they're jigs in saltwater.
Yeah.
It's slow pitch jigging. It's all jigs. It's kinda
Scott Barnes, the mayor, is here. Franco
Yeah.
is the master of winter fishing with a spoon.
cool.
Hank is
Yeah,
on to
he's
something
pretty
special
good.
with the new baits. They are awesome. Seen it in action Tuesday evening, and we had a great topwater run Tuesday evening. So
Yeah, Scott
Uh,
Barnes. He won that tournament day. That dude's on to something.
he
knows.
won today.
Oh, yeah.
He
He
did.
won the
And let me
Hamilton.
tell
He
you,
did.
hey, listen,
Listen, he cheated.
I
He
saw
had like
Tim.
18
Tim
ounces.
tried to get
Scott
me in that
cheats.
tournament with
I
Drew
was kidding.
this morning.
Yeah.
I said, no way. I saw what Scott was doing, and it was ridiculous. So I was like, no, I'm not donating my
We
money to
like-
Scott Barnes on this trip.
We like Scott here. Scott is a good fella.
I'm like in the corner.
Listen,
Sorry.
Listen, and that's the one thing about these things is everybody's like, you just want to get comfortable and get
Yeah, I'm
talking, and you
chilling.
don't pay
I am comfortable.
unless you're here all the time with these microphones. It's
Yeah.
hard to get used to. So don't worry about it. But anyway, Scott, glad you joined us. But yeah, now why is it called a jig? Is that just something y'all do
That's just what we all call it in saltwater.
in saltwater? So
Yeah.
saltwater is a jig.
Yeah, and then when I talk to them about bass fishing with a jig, they think that I'm throwing.
that's
that.
what I'm
Yeah,
saying,
They don't.
you know?
They're not like the jigs you guys have upstairs. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and that's just interesting. The terminology is a little bit different.
Yeah.
So let me throw this at you.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take the jigging out of it, and these, what would you fish with if you had? Well, you can include them, I guess. If you had one bait on Lake Lanier to catch a giant fish on
right now.
right now,
Is there a spook?
you'd go with a spook.
Or, I mean, if I could pick a second one,
Yeah.
a little small chug bug
Small chug bug or a Sarah spook.
right
and,
now.
And
on
why?
there.
And why?
Just catches big one. I mean, catches.
Confidence? Is it the way it's working? I mean, what is it?
I don't know. I mean, I think that it's funny. The bigger bites that I've gotten on topwater on Lanier have come on either one of those baits.
Okay. Now,
And Ryan Coleman, which when I got here like 10 years ago,
Yeah.
I remember him. He took me out trying to learn this lake. I didn't know anything about Lanier,
right.
And that's the first. I remember he caught his biggest spot that day on a small chug bug, and it's always stayed true.
Gotcha.
Always stayed true.
What about you?
Swim bait. I like the Farleys, the sweet baits, the Sabiles, that sort of thing.
Okay, you say Sabile. I want to. Why did people say the old Sabiles are better than the new Sabiles?
Because they are.
Okay, well, why?
You cast them better. They stay down. They don't blow out. Because I always fish them fast. I don't slow.
It's a good question. We should ask Patrick. Why did you change?
Yeah,
why did you change the Sabile, Patrick?
But I mean,
I feel like they just fish better. I don't know. You got to get out there and throw them. They don't blow out when you're speeding. When you're burning the bait.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Did they change the construction on them?
I think so. I think didn't they?
I just know. Anytime we talk, I hear Sabile. Everybody's like, "Oh, they don't make them like they used to.
That's
they don't make them like they used to." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what is the difference? Just what is the difference?"
I don't know.
I think they feel more solid. They're heavier. They stay down in the water column better.
Right.
When you're retrieving them at high speeds, they just swim better. They do.
I got you.
I know that's a weird way to answer your question.
No. It just when I hear Sabile, that always pops in my mind.
Well, it's like a vixen, something you don't.
I know what a vixen is.
You know what a vixen?
I know what a vixen is.
All right, so which one's better?
I ain't got a clue, but I know what a vixen is. I mean, I don't fish them enough.
Do you?
Well, I know that. Let me put it this way: I know there's a vixen, and I know that there is the one that was painted for me by other guys, and it was the vixen blank. And so I was showing the difference between a real vixen and the blank, and so there was a little bit of difference there. But now, if you're going from vixen to vixen to vixen, I do not know that, but I do know what a vixen is. I know what happens in Las Vegas too, but I don't go there.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
You know what I'm saying. So no, I mean, so what is the difference in the vixens?
Well, you guys can elaborate on it just as well as I can. The old vixens, the original vixens, is what they call that mold that they cast those blanks out of, and then when.
Was it Reaction
Innovation?
Yeah.
I had the name on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
When Reaction Innovations got the quote unquote, I guess, the rights to make the bait, they changed it.
Yeah.
And the old vixens, when you walk the dog,
right,
those suckers, you can throw those out there and you can make them stay in place.
Right.
I mean, you'll sit there and you're sitting here doing this, and they will barely move. The new ones, eventually there comes to a point to where you got to really slack in.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
So it's something to do with the way that they made the old mold. Yeah, the old mold.
I've done some research. Older Sabiles have less severe angles, and the flow over the surface is less volatile, making the older ones more stable. That sounds like a very educated answer.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
We're going to go with that. Does that sound good to you?
Sounds good.
The popper that Cash is coming out with for the bass is going to be amazing. Okay, so Barnes just spilled the beans that y'all got something coming out. So let's go since the mayor has put it out there. So
yeah, we've got some smaller. I want to say like a 30-gram popper. Doing 3 colors. We're gonna do a bone. The bone looks pretty awesome. I think I may have sent you a picture of the bone color. It was on a stick bait. Pretty proud of that one. We're gonna keep our herring, and then we're going to do a black and chrome.
Black and chrome.
I will buy the black and chrome.
The black and chrome
available.
So, we're plugging Cast here. What makes the popper from Cast the one that should be bought?
Balsa.
It's Balsa.
And
tell somebody out there
if you know the old school Rapalas, the way Balsa swims to me, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, and so explain to somebody out there who is watching, they're new to fish, and in the future they watch this and they don't know the difference between a Balsa bait and a plastic bait or something like that.
Like, look at Rapala now and like the hard epoxy baits and what they are. And I remember being, my first bass was caught on a size 7 gold Rapala on Lake West Point, and the way those things swim and how easy you could put action with your little spinning rod and they dart around.
Right.
And they're buoyant. They're nice things. Very nice things.
What about the durability of Balsa?
The durability of Balsa?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the way these baits are coated, it's very thick. Because, that's the other thing, too, is this is really made for saltwater. So we're dealing with fish with teeth and knocking the crap out of it. I've kept one of these baits. I've fished up here the last 2 weeks, kept it on my deck, and I don't have any hook rash, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
impressive.
Nice.
Is that no rash?
That's impressive. Because if I buy a topwater plug, say for example, a saltwater super spook,
Are you throwing everybody a little bit of a hint right there with the saltwater super spook?
No.
I'm just kidding.
That's
Did you let that slip?
That's pretty
Did you let
common.
that slip?
No, that's pretty common knowledge.
Okay.
No, what I was saying is, so like you buy a saltwater super spook chrome,
Yeah, you get the circle.
and within 2 weeks of me throwing it, you can already see where my hooks
right, you
are
get that
walking
little
back
circle
and forth.
there on both
You're
sides.
not going to have that with these baits.
Balsa, no cracks and water can leak into them and fill up. Oh, so Balsa doesn't have cracks. So
No water can leak into them.
Exactly. So
Right.
I get exactly what
Like
he's
the
saying.
Gancraft when you pay money
Pay.
for a Gancraft and then you get it and the water leaks in the first day and you
Who
just
is-
spend $150.
Who's DP?
150.
He's commented a bunch.
The popper is going to be fire. I don't know who DP is.
He's commented a bunch.
Drew?
Drew Petty probably.
Is Drew Petty?
That's okay. So
Okay.
we know him. There we go.
Yeah.
Uh,
Drew Petty he'll throw two things all year long. It doesn't matter if it's winter, it doesn't matter what time of day. He's gonna throw a mega bass jerkbait and he's gonna throw a popper. And if they underneath those, if he has to throw a fluke, he'll be cussing the whole entire time. And they're only gonna bite the tail off. Why would this stupid thing only bite the tail off? So Drew will fish a jerkbait. It's just ridiculous. If there's no jerkbait bite, he's gonna make one,
He
or,
loves them to
he's
one
gonna
side.
leave the lake.
that,
Yeah.
You said you got to commit.
Yeah, that's
You gotta commit to a bait,
Yeah,
you know?
that is
So-
awesome.
What is okay? So you two have fished together a lot.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
you get- all right. So I always like this when I got friends on there. What's his weakness as a fisherman?
Finesse.
Finesse.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's his?
Power fishing.
Power
I'm just
fishing.
joking. I'm just joking.
Power
No,
fishing.
he will before me be the first person to pick up the spinning rod. He's really good at it.
Right.
One of the best people I know at drop shotting. One of the absolute best people I know at setting up on a spot to fish it correctly. He is definitely the deal with Finesse.
The deal,
I
yeah.
just try and make him bite the
Look at
spinbait
Robert.
first and all this crazy.
I know. I
Wait,
saw
no,
that. I
man.
saw that.
What is it?
Woody, he's the one. Remember, I showed
Woody.
you all those baits up there that got painted.
Yeah,
The bone baits and the chrome bait.
yeah.
He's the one that painted them. So he wants
Okay,
to,
cool.
What kind of clear coat are y'all using since you're not getting
That I don't know.
Yeah, that's a manufacturing thing right there. So,
It's
yeah,
Australian. It's by Foster's.
it's
Yeah,
it's what
by Foster's the beer.
Foster's.
I
Foster's.
got you. I got you like that.
Clear coat.
Coat.
Had a spake
Is Australia
Australian.
okay? I got you. So you don't think he's very good at finesse fishing, or that's his weakness. So if you had to go against him, and and you just can only use finesse, you just walk the dog with him. You just whip him.
I'll have to so it's funny. He was here
See
visiting.
like-
what you're doing over here.
Yeah, I love
He
this.
was visiting over the weekend, over the winter. I remember you were in the boat with Ed,
Yeah, and I don't even.
so they were power fishing the ditches.
Yeah,
I said, guys, pick up a 2.8 Kitech
But where?
on a little small 3/8 ounce guppy head and throw it on 7-pound test, and you'll catch the snot out of them right now.
right.
Mickey rigging.
And I was like, and so he picked it up and he threw it out there. He started going like this, and I said, Ryan,
Slow down.
Slow
I
down,
listen,
man.
in my
Slow
defense,
down.
I just came back from the saltwater. Where
I got you, I
eat
got you.
everything.
That's
Dude,
right.
I'm
I'm
like
like
this is
this,
what you have to
man.
do.
Like you gotta
Yes.
barely turn it. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
But I'll do it though.
And
I
then he
did
did it,
I
and then
did
all of a sudden he started catching them.
I
Yeah.
got you. You just had to get reacquainted.
I
with it
did
like that.
everything down. Yeah,
So when
Uh,
you come back up here in wintertime and you're going to go throw a swim bait
yeah.
or something on a ball head jig in the ditches,
Yeah.
you're going to make that first cast in the morning and you're going
Yep.
instead of.
No, but I learned that. I know that now. I actually.
Well, I'm just saying out of habit. you know?
February, old
Sorry.
DP up there. Me and him went to a lake up in where is it, North Carolina, and caught smallmouth, and that was the deal. And you had to, if you turn your reel handle like this, you won't
Yeah.
get bit all day. You had to sit there and
Yeah.
just crawl it. You had to feel that
Yeah.
thing the whole entire time, just doing this.
Yeah.
And that is
Stay
why I
contact.
told you that I throw my fish heads exclusively on a 5:3 to 1 gear ratio.
It forces you to slow down. It really does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
you said
even if you do catch yourself picking up a little bit of speed, reeling it, you're still fishing slow.
You're right on that. You're,
You know, you're
100%
still-
right on that.
Because I used to throw it on 6-4 to 1,
Yeah.
and sometimes I would get excited and I would be reeling it like this,
hmm
and they just wouldn't touch it.
Have you tried any of these baits? I know we talked about Burton, we talked about Lanier.
Yeah.
Some of the other northern lakes, from Allatoona north, anything. Have y'all
I
tried these on
haven't.
it?
No,
You have
I
not.
haven't.
How
This has
about you?
kind of been so new that it's like, I come back to Lanier. I got all my buddies there, jump on a boat with them, and go out there and try it.
So that's what I'm saying. I want to know. I'm curious. I would imagine with Carter's, Blue Ridge, they're deep, they're clear.
right.
But like,
I think Chattooga, you're
Chattooga.
gonna blast them on it
um,
because it has brush
yes,
and they set up very similar to the way they do on.
that's what I was getting to ask Farmer and Notley.
Yeah.
Like that. So, but what about Allatoona? Because that's a different beast,
That's a different beast. and I
but
know
it's still got spots in it.
it
So,
does, yeah.
But it's coming. But see, me and Bardet had this conversation a couple months ago. Allatoona's about to change. within the next year or two because they're putting bluebacks in.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Who is they?
People.
I
in the
guess
background. I'm working on that. He's got a whole team back there.
I guess
Who
the
is
DNR.
they?
I guess the DNR.
Men.
Is that or is that not true?
Men
Paul?
in black suits.
Is that or is that not true, Paul?
I have no clue.
That is what I've heard.
I assume that it's inevitable that they'll end up in there.
Right, but it's stocking. So, okay, so right now you could go to any lake. You would feel confident throwing these baits in any lake in the country that had bluebacks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or trout.
Or trout, bluebacks. Okay. But I still, listen, I'm trying to give Alatuna some love because everybody talks bad about it. But I'm just, in my mind, the fish they're uber aggressive. They're not no size, but, you know, I think you could go over there and hit stuff. I mean, but you haven't fished it on it like that. I'm just curious how that would work.
So new with all this right now. I just haven't.
I mean, that's the other thing about these baits, guys, is you got to like get on the front of that bite. Because again, once these fish get conditioned to it, I mean, if a lot of guys start throwing it,
right,
they're going to get conditioned to it, just like we talked about with spy bait.
That's right. So absolutely,
you got to get ahead of it.
You got a new guy over here.
You got a new guy. So listen, tomorrow they'll be like everyone in North Georgia will be bought and be out on Lanier. Somebody trying to
I'll throw those things.
Yeah, I'll throw it.
I
come by an hour ago. He got me. But
well, that's what one of my buddies said one time we were fishing, and he goes, "Do you think these fish get tired of in the middle of the summer?" In like June, early July, of hearing click, 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 you know, of the one knockers going everywhere.
Well, let me ask you this, and because I'm not really familiar with all the cast products, do you have these with rattles in it?
Not right now. No, they're just the silent one, just like that.
It's
This
just so
bait,
we're
I
going
don't
on.
think you would need a rattle.
Well, as much spray as I saw it putting off
Yeah.
in the thing, I have to show that video upstairs. It's pretty impressive. I mean, it throws a jet. That's what it looks like when looking down, because I think the view is looking down.
Yeah.
The bubble trail on it was pretty impressive. Right. He sent me that video like that. So, do you foresee a day where they would put rattles in any of their stuff like that?
Oh, maybe down the line.
Maybe. I mean, because I don't know how that translates to saltwater. I mean, I don't know if you need it.
No. I mean, that makes sense. You know, it's another way to attract them. Totally.
Well, you know, some days you can throw one that has rattles and they're not going to touch you, and you come right by with a silent one, and that's just what they want that day. So, like that. That's
crankbait fishing.
That is crankbait fishing, but I'm still saying, I mean, you know, some days they'll just react, and some days that sound will draw them. But you asked the question if they were getting tired. I'm just trying to elaborate and make a show off of it. Man. I'm going with the question.
I was just rebuttaling.
You were rebuttaling. Yeah. Is that a word?
Yeah,
rebuttaling.
It is today. That is courtroom terminology.
Rebuttaling.
Yes.
Oh,
shut up, Paul.
Somebody needs to
play along with me, Paul.
Play along with. Listen, in this place is perfect. What other type of baits does Cast have?
So we have slow pitch jigs, and we have the floating and sinking stick baits and poppers.
And poppers. That's what you're coming out.
Yep.
Plans on the future, though. I mean, with it coming out, I mean, have they been anything in the works?
More right now, we just really want to modify our current product line to really tailor to bass fishermen.
Gotcha.
I mean, this is not a bad thing, but you have guys, like I said, we don't have the, you know, when you buy the lure, it doesn't have the hooks. So there's some guys that don't know how to put split rings or hooks or what to go on there. I'm not being mean when I say that.
No, they don't know the right size.
They feel comfortable doing that. So let's provide them with that. Or you know what? Like, hey, maybe I'm not so big into trophy hunting and I don't want to catch my biggest spotted bass ever, but I want a really cool bait I can depend on that's high quality that I can go out and fish every day and get numbers on, but I don't want it this big. Well, let's make you a popper you feel comfortable with. So that's kind of, you know, where we're going with it right now. I think we'll expand into different styles in the future and stuff like that. But just right now, I'm a big fan of the Balsa baits and just kind of building on that line.
I got you. Now, Franco.
Yes.
Now, I see a lot of posts from you. You're on Lanier all the time.
Yeah.
You're on Lanier.
Yeah.
So, and I guess you knew him prior to Cast and all this.
Sure. Yeah.
So the first time, though, he brings you one of these things and he puts it in your hand and says, you got to try this.
Yeah.
Now, was you skeptical? I mean, did you say, no, it's got to work?
I think he shared this with you before we
Right.
started, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of have this thing about each other that, like you said, if you were to give me money, and if I were to go into a bait store and get bait and get whatever lures,
Right.
that I wanted, it would be the exact thing that he wants.
The same color, same size. It's ridiculous.
And it's funny, it's vice versa. So when he comes on, like when he comes on my boat or we hang out together,
right?
Like we're looking at each other's stuff and we love everything that we've chosen. So
gotcha.
We got kind of like a weird thing about that.
Yeah,
we really kind of have like this niche.
So that kind of helps. That helps a lot too. Then so that makes total sense.
When he threw this at, I mean, when we were talking about it, we just think alike that way. We think kind of like in a trying to find new ways to present something different to the fish.
What is the most overpresented bait right now on Lake Lanier?
The most overpresented bait?
Yeah.
There's a lot.
I mean, probably the ones I said that I love to throw.
Yeah. The jerk bait.
The ones that are the chug bug or the spook.
Overpresented bait. That's
jerk bait.
A jerk bait. But they'll still hit them.
I've seen people Saturday throwing a jerk bait on bridge columns.
And for those that don't know why that's wrong,
probably Drew Petty, by the way.
What is wrong with that right now?
No, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's the jerk bait is like, it's like a constant steady flow. And like a lot of people think, well, not a lot of people outside of blueback herring lakes, once like it gets like over 75 degrees and we start really hitting heavy post spawn, they put the jerk bait down. And they go to throw other things. And Lanier, you can find fish year round somewhere that will eat a jerk bait. I mean, you can pull up to a long taper point in the middle of the summer, first thing in the morning, early, and throw a jerk bait across that thing, make 5 casts, catch 5 fish.
Did someone say jerk bait?
Yeah, that's who I was telling you about.
Right, that's right.
So, you need to.
It's funny because.
But I don't like a jerk bait that much.
And this is not a secret, so it's not my deal, but I remember they had a elite tournament out on Lake Chatu. I don't remember they had the Angler of the Year tournament.
Right. So just a couple of years
Jacob
ago.
Wheeler smoked him on a jerk bait at the end of July.
Yeah.
Over brush piles.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is that guys, like you said, lay the jerk bait down in spring.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fish don't see a jerk bait for a couple months. And I told Hanks about this. I said, again, it's something that they're not used to seeing over the brush pile.
Yeah.
Because you're like you said, they're click, click, click. And then all of a sudden that jerk bait comes by.
Yeah.
It's just something different.
We got guys around here that I'm telling you, they throw swim baits this size.
Mm-hmm.
Would you throw that on Lanier ever?
No, but I'd throw it on Burton. Actually, I don't even know if I'd throw it on Burton anymore.
I would.
Burton in its heyday, though, you would throw
Yeah.
And so this is what, 9 inches at least?
Yeah. What's 150 grams?
I don't know. Paul's the mathematician here.
Now I'm the Google-tician.
Google-tician. So
5. Tim Hancock said earlier, it's like 5-something ounces.
So you would throw that on topwater. I mean, would it be topwater or the sinker?
Yeah, just sweep it.
Do they make that on? It's what?
5 1/4.
5 1/4.
A little more than 5
So does that size come in a sinking too?
Yeah.
For salt water like that.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't use a sinking.
I'd throw the top water and just work it real slow, and I'd paint it like a trout.
And you paint it like a trout.
Yeah,
But that size.
like a rainbow trout.
See, because this is the size of the trout that they release up there at the hatchery on Burton.
That's right.
And if you've never experienced that, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys, looking at you, if you haven't experienced that, if you've never experienced when they release the trout up there, dude, one cast will be a spot. The next cast will be a largemouth. The next cast will be a striper. The next cast will be a lake trout. The next cast will be a walleye. I mean, it's
crazy.
It's insane.
And that's where you cut your teeth. Is Burton.
As far as throwing big swim baits, just because of having the trout and it has blueback, so those fish really get a big.
And that's a smaller lake though, so it's interesting. It's like that. Now, would a trout color and something like that work on Lanier these days?
This big?
Any size?
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
Because I mean, people are the striper guys still pulling trout.
Yeah, definitely. You can catch a trout color.
Spots on like a triple trout that's colored like a trout pattern.
Gotcha. I just didn't know if the trout pattern was still effective on Lanier.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I know people pull them for stripers and stuff like that.
Right.
I know you look in the spots and stuff like that, but I didn't know if you were going out and buying it, you say, okay, trout. Okay, yeah, that would work on Lanier.
Yeah.
You said like with Burton, you were like, yeah, I'd paint it trout,
color.
but you wouldn't do it on Lanier as quick. It would be effective, but not your first choice.
Right.
Okay, I got you.
You got to think though, a trout is essentially a protein shake.
Well, it is. I mean, I totally get that.
I mean, it's pure protein.
And Lanier used to have a bunch of lake trout. So I mean, Lanier used to have a lot of trout in it. So whatever like that.
They're coming back.
Okay.
And there's also the gizzard shad. People, strapper fishermen, keep throwing y'all's gizzard shad over the side of the boat.
You think they're going to come back too like that?
Well, they're already here.
They're here. What?
I mean, there's gizzard shad in Lake Lanier right now this big.
Oh yeah, I saw somebody put a picture. I mean, it looked like a 2-pound one.
I seen them spawning under a dock about 3 years ago upriver.
Gotcha.
And they were like all this big.
Well,
I was like, the only way that the gizzard shad, those size gizzard shad, could have gotten in the lake was we're done strapper fishing for the day, and it sucked, and
they just
dump their gizzard shad over the side of the boat and they get away.
It's possible. What do you think about people doing that as far as affecting your fishery by throwing baits and stuff like that in there? Live baits.
I truly don't have an opinion on it.
Right.
Yeah.
So nothing negative, nothing positive.
No,
just
I don't have a strong opinion on that one.
Okay, well, that's good. Some people really do.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, some people
Do you?
really do.
I don't have an opinion on it, but I mean, it just depends. Maybe I guess I do have an opinion. If it's an invasive species or something that's going to damage that lake,
Right.
That's, you need to be responsible.
Let's take bluebacks, because a lot of biologists say bluebacks are an invasive species.
Except for blueback herring, when it makes the spotted bass get fat. And it's completely changed here. I understand.
Right. Yeah. But
And
I mean, I
understand
just
it's
hear
not the best.
people say that blueback is not the best, but
No, it's not. It's
it
not
does
at all.
make for some big fish.
It does.
It does make for some
Yeah.
big fish.
The only downfall of blueback herring is if they find largemouth spawning.
That's what I was just about to say.
They will not
annihilate it.
They will not leave the largemouth alone. They are going to sit there. The largemouth, both of them, just back and forth, and they cannot spawn. And then by the time that the bluebacks actually leave, they've done wore the female out enough to where she's just like, nah, I don't want to do this.
So
And she don't spawn.
so they irritate the.
They eat largemouth eggs.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They go up-
Largemouth.
So why do they not eat spot eggs?
I think it's the time they spawn, right?
A lot of the times when the spots are really spawning pretty heavily, like on a blueback lake, the spots are more spawning main lake-ish stuff,
Right.
And the bluebacks aren't really there.
Okay, I mean that's interesting. I mean I didn't know that. So
I can't believe you didn't know that.
well, I don't pay attention to that. I'm just asking questions. I just go. I just ask questions.
If you will see it, you're fishing enough, you will come into a pocket one April,
Right.
and you will see, oh my God, there's a big old largemouth, and then you'll be like, what is that? And then you start looking, oh my God, look at all that stuff. Oh my God, look at all that stuff swimming around up there. And there's thousands of bluebacks, and they're just all over the place, and they are harassing the ever living piss out of the largemouth.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. I said we'll go with that. I ain't pay no attention.
So
Might be why I'm not that good a fisher.
but one of the reasons why the largemouth population on Lanier has started to come back is because the past couple of years the lake's been high. Granted, that has made the spot fishing a little bit more tough, a little bit more unpredictable as to what's happening. But the largemouth have had several good spawns in a row, and the fry, when they've hatched, they've had places to hide.
Yeah. So Barday's still hanging around. So I'm glad to see you staying in with us tonight. But the same biologists that are against bluebacks put stripers and hybrids in the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I again, that's, I just want to know what y'all thought about
Yeah.
but I get it. I mean, I that is a touchy situation.
It is. And when you bring it up, if you ever do it on social media, you'll have 82 comments,
I love it. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's got an opinion on that and stuff like that. And so,
When you fish like I do, it don't matter. I love the herring.
Yeah.
okay. But you like going for, well, you like largemouth.
Yeah, but the way I fish, the way that I prefer to fish,
Right.
I love the herring because I can get a good limit quick. And then I can spend the rest of my day looking for one. Throwing my bait.
So there you go. So that's your technique right there. Works for you, right?
Works for me.
Of the three ways we talked about, the three baits. So you got the topwater, you got that, and you got the jigging.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite?
This buddy right here,
Topwater.
Yeah.
By far.
by far.
By
You
far.
get some vicious strikes on it.
Okay. Is it more of a visual kind of sensory thing, or do they actually really hit it harder?
I mean, it's both. They hit it, they try to kill it,
Right.
and the size of fish that you get is impressive.
What's the biggest fish you've caught on something like that?
So one that was like, last four? I caught a bunch of fours, but 4.5 probably.
Right.
Yeah.
Which that's a great fish.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you?
Same thing. A little over 4.
So compare it to we mentioned that it was more of big fish bait.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I know this is an impossible ratio, but like 1 to 4, 1 to 5, like if you were going with a smaller size, you'd catch, you know what I'm saying? What ratio of big fish to smaller fish? I mean, you know what I'm saying? You don't get the number of bites, but do you get the 12-inch bass hitting this every once in a while?
Every once in a while,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Or is it really
Yeah.
a big fish bait?
No.
Okay.
I fished it. I fished a tournament a couple of weekends ago, and
Which is
I was
crazy.
and I was trying to catch a kicker, and
Right.
I had a bunch of small fish that I caught on it that day. I just didn't get the kicker bite.
Just an aggressive bite, even with the smaller fish, same thing. They just,
Actually, that day they were actually hitting it when I would pull it down. They would grab it while I was pulling it down, and it was coming back up. So I never even saw the bite. I just felt the bite, and they would hook on.
they were there.
They were there.
How do you think those 12-inch spots grow up to be 4-pound spots?
Well,
They
I
have a
understand.
voracious appetite.
I understand.
And they see that thing and they say, I gotta have it.
There's also, I've heard, biologists say that there are 12-inch bass and there are bass that eat 12-inch bass too. So, I mean, that's why I want to know, are you getting the size fish, 75% of the fish I catch on this are going to be 3 to 4 pounds,
Right.
with 25% being the smaller ones. Is it
Right.
that
That's-
type of
yeah,
bait that
that's
you can
what I would
kind
say.
of,
That's what I
the
would say.
ratio?
But you'll definitely get a dink to hit that out of the blue because spots are crazy.
I guess the real question with these baits, how many striper do you catch on
A
these?
lot.
A lot.
Striper love those. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah. And I've
striper
had a lot
candy.
of striper
It is
fishermen reach
striper
out to me
yeah.
and they want even bigger models and want to go throw them in the river in different places in Tennessee and South Carolina. I don't know if you know, I posted a few weeks back some pictures of some guys. I believe they're either from South Carolina or up there, and they caught some really big striper. What the guy found is they'll go out there and pull herring behind the boat, and they'll cast the plugs while they're drifting or trolling along. And he said he felt like even if the fish sometimes, like he would catch some, but he would get their attention and pull them into their spread behind the boat where the live ones were as well.
So almost like you said earlier, if you want to find that big bass, you can throw a big swim bait like that, and they'll show themselves.
Yeah.
So use that to attract them.
But striper do love those.
The striper
See, I
does.
could see on the Tennessee River
Yeah.
pulling planer boards behind the boat. With
There's a
big,
guy who wants to throw one.
I
that
mean,
size.
you're in the front of the boat. You got the motor, and you're trolling
Exactly
with
what
planer
he wanted to
boards,
do.
and you're throwing this thing for a striper on the Tennessee River, where they grow 30, 40 pounds.
That's exactly what he wanted to do. He said he wanted like 120, 150 grand to put on a planer
Because I
board.
mean, they're eating gizzard shad. They're that big.
top
Yeah,
water.
sinking or top water.
Top water,
Either one.
okay.
Well, sinking for a planer, I guess. But he wanted one that big. He was like, I want to troll it. So
Okay.
it's pretty crazy. And the funny thing is they troll these in Australia for billfish over there. Mick and Ben do right behind the boat because it does when I was saying I'm burning a smaller model, it does that same sort of thing. Like it's got a good swim like that. So you could totally put that on a planer board and troll it or do whatever you wanted to do with it.
I think that's pretty neat. It's a multi-species
Yeah, it's
bait.
cool.
So it's pretty interesting that you can take this, if you wanted to, in theory, put you some hooks on it, and you could catch fish anywhere in the world with this bait.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Heck yeah.
Well, I mean, I know there are baits that's that claim that you can
Right.
do that, but if I couldn't take a floating Rapala and start busting big saltwater fish because it would break.
Yeah.
And there's line ties. So, I mean, really, as versatile and as tough a bait as on the market.
Yeah.
I guess in Australia, the fish are like that, and you got to build them that way.
Yeah.
Right. So that's pretty awesome. I mean, I think that's. What about you, Paul? You awful quiet tonight.
He's so
Paul gives a thumbs up. He's soaking it all in like that. So again, do you think cast will ever get into like the crankbaits and stuff like that
Maybe so down the line.
down the line?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're gonna. I mean, they're gonna. What do you think? They're gonna like move over here at some point? Maybe set up a hub.
No,
like
I've been
that?
trying to get Mick to come over here. Mick and Ben. I don't know if anybody's ever checked out their social media. What they do?
Whopper flopper?
Maybe.
Like a wood chopper?
Wood
Maybe.
chopper.
Yeah,
I
wood
tell you what,
chopper.
if Cass comes out with a whopper plopper, I'll throw it. How about that? That's fair
There
enough.
you
Right
go.
there.
All right,
won't
you hear
even
that,
know
Mick?
what
If you're watching this,
If you're
you hear
mixed
that?
still, yeah.
There you go.
You give me a whopper plopper, maybe. But how would you do that?
Now we're getting somewhere.
How would you do that? I mean, how would you do that? I guess you still could have the line tie all the way through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just a little deal in the front.
Very, very interesting like that. So,
It was a
yeah, either one of you guys. I mean, like I know you said finesse and all that. Do you when you veer away from this, you a spinnerbait guy? Because you said you like the power fish.
Yeah,
What
I
other
like
type of power
spinnerbaits.
fishing do you do? And what about
Here
you?
we go.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh boy, here we go."
Yeah, yeah, seriously.
No, I do. I love spinner baits. I got into them a lot more when I used to throw jerk bait a lot. Right. Jerk bait was one of my favorite things. When I moved away, actually, I really got big into throwing spinner baits down in Florida. That's a lot of fun. I just like when they stop it. That's the deal. That's a
Yes.
good fight. When they just, I guess maybe I'm a sucker for fishing everything too fast sometimes, just covering water. But I love when you're burning a spinnerbait and they clobber.
Very interesting. You mentioned in spinnerbait because Tim Hancock was on here last week.
Mhm.
Was talking about he throws heavy spinnerbaits, big old blades and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he's throwing 2 ounces, ounce and a half, and he gets them down.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. Yeah,
But do you do it?
No.
I've never done it.
Just
Scott Suggs is the master at that.
Yeah.
who?
Scott Suggs is the master at that.
The master of the deep
Throwing
spinnerbait.
spinnerbait, like tying on like an ounce and a half spinnerbait and throwing it in like 30 feet of water.
Well, I was just curious.
That's
'cause
pretty cool.
You're talking about
That's smart.
burning it.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
But so in your mind, though, when you're burning it, are you burning it in the upper part of the water
Yeah,
column? And then you
yeah,
always.
always.
So the majority of your fishing, upper water column, middle, or down?
Well,
God, that's
I'm a
hard to
bit
say.
interesting. Like the guys that know me, this guy will testify to it. I love throwing big baits in the top water column, but man, I love going down deep for finesse.
Right.
Like it's kind of my deal. Like I love to
Yeah.
throw a soft body swim bait down like 30, 40 feet.
More so the swim bait than the drop shot type of stuff. Are you more that kind of finesse?
It's funny because I've evolved over the years now. I love throwing a Nico,
Yeah.
like a Nico rig in deep
Right.
water. And I love throwing a small swim bait, like in deep water.
We're talking little bitty
Little
ones.
bitty ones. Yeah.
Just throwing them deep, reeling them real slow, keeping contact with the bottom, stuff like that. Or
Yeah. Yeah.
all right.
The thing's funny is I love to like play around with the finesse style baits because it's funny. Those fish at times the bigger ones will even react
Like the
better to
peanuts.
to the smaller size baits than at times that they do on the bigger size baits.
Right. I got you.
Everything has its season, right? So, I caught my biggest bass this winter was on a little small 2.8 Kitech. And then
Jamie here, that was my biggest.
Most fish were probably eating on.
Yeah.
They're
yeah.
probably eating on
Very
threadfin shad that big.
that's right.
And that's what, I was going to say that because we've noticed it now. Of course, you're saltwater, you're big lake. I do a lot of electric only
Yeah.
stuff where, middle, small reservoirs where in the spring, the bait's huge.
Yeah.
But by the time you get to the fall on these smaller, they're popping things like that. They're going smaller and into
Heck,
winter.
the
So it's kind of
biggest
weird.
spotted bass I've ever seen in my life hasn't come on some giant topwater. Somebody's come on a floating fly, and that's a little fly.
And I don't understand that. Have you ever tried to do that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I have.
Are you
Dude.
are you
Oh,
are
my
you
God.
good at it? Could you do it?
Yeah, I could do it because
Tell them the day we went out with.
Yeah, let's hear about it.
It's dumb, man. We used to go. That bite on Carter's Lake was just dumb. And I don't know if you know a guy up there, Louis Bartonfield.
I know who he is. I don't
so
know
we
him
went
personally.
out.
So
I think
yeah.
actually
Both
his
of us
wife
went
for like Christmas or your birthday.
Yeah.
We jumped in the boat with him. Got it. I think it was by 11:30. We had almost 20 pounds of spots on that fly. I've been up there with Mark, my buddy Mark Badham. I think he had, it was like something stupid, like 23, 24 pounds of spots on that lake on that fly. I've seen a 6-pound spot. I've seen on a digital scale a 715, 714 on that fly. Went up to Dale Hollow, seeing the biggest smallmouth I've ever seen throwing that little fly. It's the dumbest thing.
I don't understand it. That's the whole point of that. I don't understand.
I'm going to
it.
explain to you what it is when those fish are so cold and so lethargic and
That's
they
right.
don't want to move, and the thread fin, whatever bait is in that lake, is dying off because it's that cold.
Right.
They can just come over and go boop and suck it in. They're not wasting any energy to get
Yeah.
that little bite. And
They are.
When
That's
you have a shad kill on, you
Yeah.
haven't had one in quite a few years.
on Lanier.
One time I fished against Ryan one time, and he was his friend. He's like a float and fly specialist.
That's all he wants to do is throw the float and fly. Like it's
But
ridiculous.
something that morning just said, "Take the float and fly with you," and I threw the float and fly
And beat us.
and beat them on
And
the
it
near.
was, I didn't care as much, but it was so good because my buddy Mark Badham, I hope he sees this. He loves throwing a float and fly, and that was so funny that Franco beat us to the fly.
Yeah,
And
but
ate him up.
that on the fly, is electronics still important? Because you got to put it right there in front of them, right? Seriously.
No, I wouldn't say as much.
No.
So that's what I'm saying. So I'm
certain
curious. You're
lakes
talking-
set up better for it,
You guys, you said that you got to put it right there because they're not moving.
right?
Or are
right.
you still
So,
wanting them to move? You still thinking the fish are moving and you're just putting it where you think they're going to come in at?
Right, correct.
a lot of the places
I'm
that
totally
that
ignorant on this. I
No,
just
no,
hear
you're good.
people-
A
yeah.
lot of places we target with float and fly, why Carter sets up so good for it, is bluff.
Channel swing.
Really,
Oh,
channel swings, very deep bluff walls, and that's like if you've ever been up to Dale Hollow, that's like Carter's on steroids. I mean,
Right.
those walls are just sheer, and there's not really much when you think about it you can do on those walls. You can't throw up there, and if you threw a jig up there, it dropped 5
it's
feet.
good. Yeah.
You'd pull it once, it'd go 27. You'd pull it again, it'd go 100. So you
Right.
can't do. There's not a lot of stuff you can do. So it's a suspended fish sort of deal. But it's cool because you're using like 6-pound fluorocarbon leader, and it looks like the rod, the guys crappy fish,
yes,
big old rods. It looks like you're throwing that, and you hook a 5-pound spot on that, or it's fun. It's definitely a lot of fun to do.
And you're good at it.
He's good at it. Yeah.
You're good at it. That's interesting.
I like throwing it. I don't think a lot of guys throw it on Lanier.
No, that's what I'm saying. I kind of, I'm surprised. I mean, I'm not questioning your abilities, but I'm surprised you're talking about all this stuff. And you pull out the floating fly, because I only hear it associated with Carters around here.
Carters
a little bit altitude. I've heard some guys trying on altitude, but Carters is the floating fly.
Just because of how I feel like because of the bluff, like how it sets up.
It's very. It has a lot of.
And who knew we were going to talk about the floating fly, right?
I like it.
So that's where you go. It's interesting. Have you ever done that, Ryan?
Floating fly? No.
Yeah, I haven't either.
It's crazy.
I haven't either, but I know the first person told me about it, said you got to have like a 8-foot something rod, and all this stuff, and I'm like, that sounds really boring.
Yeah, but the man that floats the fly is Craig from the Dugout, and he's the one that got us all really showed my buddy Mark about it. And we used to when I worked there, like our slower time was the winter time, so we could all go take a trip to Dale Hollow, and did that for a while. It froze my butt off.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because you want the colder the water, the better that bite.
And a little bitty minute fly. I mean, we're not talking. We're just very little.
The little one.
And the water has to be ice cold.
Yeah,
it has to be down there.
So not a summertime pattern.
No. It is. Why am I this crazy to go fishing in this weather pattern?
You tired? Huh? Are you tired?
We started talking about floating
fly.
That's what I'm saying. Floating fly. Like,
bring back spinner
there you go. Are you hungry?
No, I'm pondering.
Oh, pondering. Okay, well, you sit there and ponder like that. Biggest mistake. I always like to ask this question from guys that fish big lakes, whatever. Biggest mistake fishermen make on Lake Lanier?
Adjust.
The lack of adjusting, or
you have to adjust constantly. It's funny. I think Clay's still on here. Me and him talk about it a lot, about constantly adjusting. I remember when me and him started fishing Lake Lanier, we would get locked on a bait. So we would think, oh, it's topwater season. Let's just keep the topwater in our hand, or it's a Seville.
Right.
The more that you adjust, the more that you'll get on more fish.
Okay, makes sense. What about you?
I want to say boat positioning, not setting up and understanding, like especially lakes like Lanier, fishing too shallow, being right on top of the structure when you should be back off it and casting, then moving up on it. I think it's like if we know there's a brush pile up there in 30, a lot of guys, and there's a ton of good fishermen around Lanier know how to set up their boat. I'm not saying that, but a lot of guys that just start out, they kind of get already on top of the fish, and then they start casting when the fish are under here. So learning the correct boat positioning. Don't be scared if your boat is sitting over super deep water while you're casting, because you may be in 60, 70 feet of water, but you're casting up there to 30. I think that's a big thing.
There's several brush piles like that.
Yeah,
like
boat's in 79 feet of water.
Yeah,
and a long cast.
Yeah,
you're in 28.
Right.
Gotcha,
but people feel uncomfortable sitting out there because you're like, oh, I'm in 70 feet of water. I think that's one of the.
It's a big deal.
I think a lot of it, they think I'm not close enough.
Right.
And so they get too close.
Yeah, that's.
And then they get glued to their graph, sitting there watching the depth come up, and then by then it's too late.
Right, you're already on.
So how do you think that affects fish?
I think
on a heavy pressured lake.
Definitely, they're aware you're there. I think
totally.
you've killed any opportunity you have of not ambushing them or sneaking up on them or throwing a fluke up there, being very subtle. You're already on top of them. So then your option is to drop shot down or whatever.
Right.
You remember when me and you fished, and we were far off of everything?
Yeah.
And how many casts did we make at each place?
You didn't. I mean,
we didn't cast very much.
Right.
We stayed for a minute or two, and then we left and went somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing.
Yeah.
By the time you've already made a few presentations up there with a bait, they're either going to bite or they're not at that moment.
I got you.
So, if you're trying to do something specific to get bit, there's no reason to sit there and beat a dead horse with a stick unless you're going to change, like what he said.
Right.
Then you need to go. Perfect example, this past weekend, I had 2 places that I knew the fish was on. And I would go to them, I would throw over them, and then I would throw a swim bait, and I wouldn't get a bite, and I would leave. I would come back to them an hour later, I would catch one.
Yep.
Wouldn't get another bite, leave it. Come back about an hour and a half later again, catch 2, leave.
Right.
Went back to it later. There's 2 boats, one on one side and one on the other side of the hump fishing.
Right.
So, but it's the same thing. If you stay too long in a clear water place, they will eventually figure out that something is there.
What do you think about this now? Kind of piggybacking on that sonar.
Yeah.
The ding, the fish getting accustomed to it, knowing,
Totally.
conditions. So you believe in that completely.
Absolutely, especially over brush. Like you have to learn to back off the brush, even if you're fishing like a drop shot or a shaky head, and definitely when you think a drop shot is vertical,
Yeah.
you need to cast to the brush pile rather than getting right over. Those fish know right away that you're there. They're so conditioned to it.
Right.
And I was going to say his comment about the boat positioning is funny. So now I think Brock gave this little jewel when he was here. When you get within 50 feet of that brush pile, those fish start coming towards you.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that on Panoptics.
Mm-hmm.
And so that they know like right as you get close to them, there's a boat near, and they'll start actually swimming towards your boat and get off the brush.
And what do you think is drawing them towards the boat?
It's weird. I think
Curiosity.
I think it could be the sonar. It
Yeah.
could be the actual. They're like they hear it and they know that it's a boat and they come towards it. But I see it on.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's what I see now.
So you
I think
see
it's
that. That's
all the time.
All the
I think
time.
it's curiosity.
Yeah.
I think because the spotted bass, I think they get so curious that,
Mhm.
oh, what is that? And they go to
Yeah.
it.
And that's very interesting because I know people. They're going, here's a brush pile.
Yeah.
But they don't fish that brush pile until they're looking down on it and they see it in their, in their graph. Now's the time to fish where you're saying
Stay off.
you should have been fishing it, and kind of like you do, you should have been fishing that thing 45 feet ago or, yards ago like that. So
But see,
now,
if staying far off, you've got the element of surprise.
I understand.
Because when a bait lands and starts going, they immediately look up and they either decide right then and there that that's real and I need to go get it, or they decide, no, I'm not interested right now.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, a little plug on mapping. I mean, Brian will tell you, and I think most guys use it on Lanier, but like use your shading on your mapping.
Yeah.
And I'm so OCD about it. Like I will,
Right?
I have my
surprise,
brush, I have the brush file, but I always set my shading out far enough where my boat does not go past that shading. Like I always stop my boat right in that green shading and I stay right there. And so it's a good way to keep yourself kind of disciplined to the.
So you shade 50 feet and up.
Yeah. I set it like 5 feet plus or minus.
Explain shading for somebody who doesn't know what you're talking about.
Okay. So you have on your charts on your Humminbird unit, I use Humminbird, and on the chart, you can actually set where you want the shading to be, both shallow and deep.
Mhm.
Okay.
So you for the shallow depth, you can say I want it up to 5 feet, for example, if it's during the spawn or if you just want to shade it if you don't want to be on top of some shallow water.
Right.
On the deep side, you can shade it in green and say, hey, I want everything plus or minus whatever depth you want in this feet. So if I want it 30 feet plus or minus, it'll shade everything 35 to 25.
Okay, I got you.
And so if I'm fishing brush piles in 25 to 30 feet, I set my shading above that. Set it like in 40. So when I always bring my boat, I know that I'm not supposed to go past that shading.
Keeping you off of it.
Keeping me off of it.
And then you're looking down. So you're looking at the view where it has your boat going in and it's got the contour lines. That's what kind of shading you're talking about? Or
it's like a color shading.
Right.
So it marks it in like green, for example.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then I'm pretty I like to always set that green that's where my boat needs to be.
I got you.
So I kind of dial it in there.
You give yourself an invisible fence.
Yes, pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah, that's the same thing I like to do.
Yeah.
Because like if I look down, because I don't really look and see what like is down there. I already know what I'm fishing. I just don't want to get too close.
That's right.
I got you. So Michael Morum, and I hope I pronounced that last name correctly. A rant's equivalent is fishing range.
There you go.
So I guess that's okay. So okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's good. So that is interesting. Do what now? Oh, I thought I missed. I thought Paul.
Go.
Keep going, Paul. Paul Kim, the keep going sign. All right, so we're about an hour 52, and we're getting close to the towards the end of the show. So what's in the future for you as far as with Cast? Are you employed by them? I didn't even ask that. Are you just affiliated with them right now and you're working your way to get them in?
I am part owner of Cast USA.
So you're a part owner
That's
of Cast.
correct.
Okay, so I didn't ask that question at the beginning, so I should have.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
So my personal plan with Cast.
Yeah, what is your personal plan?
After we get back from this bluefin trip up north, I'll probably be on the road for the next few months, talking to tackle stores across the United States. At first it was just going to be coastal cities, but But now if the bass thing, we're expanding on that. I'll be traveling to a lot of different places. That's not my end game. Eventually, I just want to be responsible for collecting content and helping produce the videos that we do,
right,
and stuff like that. But I'm a firm believer. I came from sales. You going and shaking somebody's hand in person versus sending them an email, introducing yourself, showing them, putting the product in their hand.
Yeah.
Creating a relationship with them. I think that's very important. So that's my goal right now.
That's awesome.
And
very much.
We'll end up in Hawaii too, because right now that's our biggest sales is in Hawaii.
Is in Hawaii.
I told Mick that we need to go to Hawaii, and that should be pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about you? I see you posting all the time.
Really?
So I see your posts. I follow your posts and stuff when you do like that. So
yeah.
So do you tournament fish or anything like that?
I do a little bit.
Okay, so
I do a little bit. I dibble and dabble. Like
you did one. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Whenever I get an itch.
You're the not the strange man, but you're the mystery man like that. So
Yeah,
you're around enough that you know what you're doing, but you got a reputation. What I'm noticing is you got a reputation for people who are saying you know what you're doing. So your reputation precedes you. So just fishing as a hobby tournament. That's what I'm saying. Is it just for the love of fishing, or who are you? How about that question?
Oh gosh.
He said, "Oh gosh," and he's gonna say it's with 5 minutes left.
That's what I'm saying.
Don't ask me that question.
Well, the reason I'm just saying is I'm noticing people as the night goes on. I read the comments and I'm paying attention. Your reputation is pretty good.
Damn good fisherman.
That's what I'm saying.
A lot of people know him from that.
I mean, I first and foremost identify myself with just being a follower of Christ.
Right. Absolutely.
And so he dictates everything for me. And he has given me a love for fishing. And,
gotcha.
And I met Ryan through fishing. Actually, I told you the story how I met Ryan.
Right.
And I've met a number of other guys that are just awesome guys. And and so I would say that as he leads me, who knows what's next?
There he is. We actually had. I mean, we could have had it. We could have done a whole podcast on Bible. We was up there. We got talking. So like that. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was very interesting. Actually, one of the more entertaining pre-show conversations that I've had in a while. I mean, seriously, absolutely. I love it. We actually have some same we're same pass, I guess.
Taste,
same
right?
taste and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. Well, I tell you what, listen, you got anything you want to throw out before I call it bedtime?
Probably not.
Probably not. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Are you good? Are you satisfied? Because you've been looking for it. Are you satisfied with?
I've got out what I needed to get.
Did you get what? That's what I'm asking. Did you get fed tonight? Did you get what you needed to hear?
Yes.
That's awesome. So,
yes. So let's go support these guys.
Yeah,
that's right. We're getting ready to do that. So what was? Oh, can you ask? Here's a question. Can you ask for the social media addresses to follow? I was getting yeah. So if they want to follow you,
okay,
and Cast, you go ahead and just rip them all out.
Cast Fishing Co. on Instagram, and then if you want to see some of my adventures, Ryan Hanks Fishing, and I fish everything from saltwater to schlepping back up here to get aggravated by spotted bass, back to saltwater, so I feel like a fisherman, and then coming back. But we do a lot of cool stuff. We travel all over. The guys in Cast, Mick is an amazing. He's very good at filming, editing, and all that, and produce high quality videos. So it's pretty cool to see. So. I really appreciate you having us on here. Thanks for all the support, and my buddies jumping on there and chiming in. This is
it's good.
It's pretty cool to follow your passion, and I appreciate it.
I enjoy seeing the new names on there.
Yeah.
Stall.
Huh?
Stall for me.
Stall, so he can type. I got a stall so he can talk. He's trying to get your Instagram and all that. So how about you? I mean,
yeah.
I know. I tell you what, I know you. I know you're a family man.
Yeah.
So
I love my girl.
I know you do, and it shows. So I definitely can compliment you on that, like that. So definitely, it's good to see a dad actually being a dad.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Seriously, I mean, it's a very lacking discipline in this day and age.
I can say all by the Lord's grace.
Well, listen, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't wake up in the morning.
But
so I know what
you wouldn't trade it for anything.
No, I wouldn't trade my girls for anything. I mean, my wife,
absolutely. But I know what you're saying. I know it's something about being a dad.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Franco, you got anything?
Yeah, you want
Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
I have a Facebook page, but I don't. I mean, it's funny. I don't.
That's why I said you're he's a mystery man.
I don't post that much stuff, man. You know, I mean, if you want to,
Here's a chance.
If you want to be a friend, yeah.
I mean, Ryan already gave his stuff. He's kind of my number one friend in terms of all the stuff that he puts out.
That's right.
And I'm super supportive of Fish North Georgia. I think what you're doing here is amazing. And
well, we appreciate
I love
it.
what you're doing.
I don't. Yeah, amazing is a very strong word, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I really do.
I
think it's unique for our community, man. What you're doing, and I love it.
We're trying. We appreciate that. He was one of. Fun fact is he's one of the first ones to ever buy a Fish North Georgia hat.
Fish North Georgia.
He did. He ordered it a long time ago. We was like, I can't believe somebody's buying our hat. But he was one of them. So,
awesome.
Right. But I tell you what, two quality guys. Appreciate both of you guys coming on. And like I said, and we've known each other a while, but I'm glad that we finally got to meet.
Got a chance to talk.
And you and I have talked like we've actually tried to set this up a few times, and it just finally. His timing, it finally worked. And so it all worked out. But
I'm going to go ahead and say it.
Go ahead and say it.
I think in the future, when the schedules will work, I think we need to have a repeat of this.
Okay.
Totally. Yeah.
I think we need to do this again.
We can do that. Listen, they can come back tomorrow if they want to. I mean, no,
well, they may have places to do
I understand. But like, it's just like, LJ is going to be on next Thursday night, Harmon for Lanier Baits, the Drop Shot Jedi. But
Big E coming?
Big E, I'll get him to bring him, but that's like his third or fourth time coming.
I like it. Yeah.
We again, once you're a friend of the show, feel free to hey man, I mean, especially if you're up.
Yeah, definitely.
You're up from Florida. Say, hey dude, me and Franco want to come by.
Okay, cool.
And we'll set it up because listen, I mean, Florida's not even that's a trip. That's a drive. So if you're up here, that would be cool. And it'd be cool to keep up with the progress.
Definitely.
Fly or drive.
Yeah, I've been driving.
He drives, man. Yeah.
I was up here last week. I drove back to Clearwater, Florida to do a little saltwater filming and then drove back up this week. So I'm about.
I bet you are. I bet you.
You just need like one whole day of just like.
No, I do. And I've been getting up at 5 a.m.
Nothing.
You can probably see how red I am on camera. I've been in the sun constantly. I'm gonna sleep hard tonight.
We're gonna do it tomorrow.
Yeah, and we're going fishing in the morning.
You're going fishing in the morning. I need to get you guys out of here. So, okay, guys, listen. First of all, thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure meeting you.
Hey,
no, I don't know, but the honor.
The
honor is ours.
The honor is ours.
The honor is ours. So,
Appreciate it.
guys, again, hey, look, appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Next Thursday night, we're gonna have LJ in the house. And man, make sure you get that camera, get my good side there, Paul. So we're gonna have LJ in the house right there. Look at that. Look at that ugly mug. Only in America can somebody that ugly get out there. It's a great country we live in. But join us next this is it Father's Day weekend this
is Father's Day weekend. So yes, this is Father's
Day. So this is the weekend I buy myself a present.
Right.
Okay.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers.
Absolutely, like that. So
happy Father's Day, Franco.
Father's Day to you, like that. But again, hey. Now, Paul's going to want me to do this, and I haven't done it in so long. I'm going to muff this. But guys, give us a follow on Facebook group page and Facebook, on the Instagram. I know you did it on the Instagram at Fish North Georgia. We have a Twitter at Fish North Georgia. It's spelled GA there. And of course, if you're here on the YouTube channel and you're joining us visiting tonight, make sure you hit the subscribe button and click that bell. I haven't said click that bell in forever. Click that bell so you'll be notified of any future content. Check these guys out. Keep a follow on them. And we look forward to seeing you next week on Thursday with the Drop Shot Jedi. So, guys, we appreciate